We thank you for joining us today. Once again, my name is Yvonne Undu, as you can see in the name bar, and I'm one of the co-founders of Afro-Tech Girls. We're very excited to have various members of the IHS team. This is a very exciting project for us. It's in celebration of National Day of Girls and Women in STEM, and we're partnering with IHS Towers on delivering this event to you. I will hand it over to Adeola, Shasanya, and Cima Sholatan. Apologies, Cima, if I didn't pronounce your last name right. They will be taking us through the welcome and kickoff, and they'll be telling you a bit more about the event. Cima, over to you, please.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Yvonne. You pronounced my name properly. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for taking out the time to attend this virtual conference. As I've been introduced, my name is Cima, and I work with IHS Nigeria Limited as the Director for Sustainability and Corporate Communications. So we are once more delighted to be part of this program. We're so happy to partner with Afro-Tech as well to commemorate this 2021 International Day for Women and Girls in Science. I believe some people are aware of IHS and some aren't, because really with the kind of service we provide in Nigeria, we really take more like the back seat. So IHS Nigeria is part of the IHS Towers Group. We are the largest mobile telecommunications infrastructure provider in Africa, Europe, and Middle East. We operate over 28,000 towers in 9 countries, and we are committed to finding practical, innovative solutions to address our biggest social and environmental challenges across our value chain, obviously in alignment with the Sustainable Developmental Goals. So just to break it down, I guess maybe using the word mobile telecoms infrastructure may seem so complex, especially to our young people on the call. So what you would generally refer to as a mast, that's a telecoms infrastructure. And we have over 28,000 of these in 9 countries. In Nigeria, we have over 60,000 of these across the country. So we are in every state, every local government in Nigeria. As a business, we are really passionate, very passionate, I would say, and committed to breaking the long-standing bias and gender stereotypes, when it comes to steering girls and women, away from science-related fields. Just to add, IHS is a tech and engineering business. And sorry, I'm getting feedback. Tech and engineering business. Okay, and so over the years, we've had significant improvements, and we've seen this. We have female engineers, in our company, working with us, but even though we've seen this improvement with girls and women, in the STEM space, however, with all of the progress, we still feel that there are opportunities, for women and girls to grow within the field. And if you for instance, go to engineering faculties in institutions in Nigeria, and then you would see just a few ladies, in the room. And we want to start to increase that number. We want more women. We want young girls to aspire, to take on, various career path within the STEM space. And we know that there have been push from various quarters. The UN General Assembly, for instance, in 2015, they adopted a resolution to make February 11th the International Day for Women and Girls in Science, which is a great thing. But we know that we really need to do more, especially in Africa and in Nigeria. Also with COVID, we know that, the gap will really, widen especially for women scientists in the early stage of their career. And for us, our resolve is to act deliberately to get more women, in the room. As a business, like I've said, aside from supporting these types of programs and, inspiring and encouraging and motivating young girls, we also have programs that are geared towards getting women into IHS. So it's against this, backdrop that IHS is partnering with Afro-Tech Girls to commemorate today. And the theme, is women scientists at the forefront of the fight against COVID-19. And we have gathered experts working in fields related to the pandemic to address us today and really share their experience, their journey, and just to encourage, every young girl out there to continue within the space. If you're still there, if you haven't joined in, please join in, and let's begin to create ideas, new inventions that will change our world. To further advance, our agenda, like I said, we're partnering with Afro-Tech, Girls Organization, and they are a nonprofit, and I believe they will speak more about their mission. But they've been doing this for a while now, and we totally support, them, and we will be working with them to make sure that we can get more girls in the room. IHS Towers, we stand ready to continue to work in this area at all levels, primary, secondary, tertiary, even young professional women. We really want to work and begin to, see and encourage, young women. And we hope that in a few years from now, we would see more women because of this work that we're doing and this partnership. We will see young women, more young women within this space, and obviously create equal access and participation for them. In conclusion, I would like to remind us that there's a great need for us to support. You can do what you don't need to have the funds, or you don't necessarily need to sponsor a program. You have young girls, young women around you. You could mentor them. You could support them. Just encourage them. To keep on. But aside from that, if there are other private institutions on the call, please, we would like you to also support. Would like to work with you. We believe, in collaboration. And, at the end of the day, it's all about making our country great. Thank you again, and happy International Day for Women and Girls in Science. Do have a great time learning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cima, for that beautiful introduction on IHS Towers. And we're really excited about this partnership. I'll be handing it over to, and we're coming back within this segment to share a bit more about that, but I'll hand it over to Adeola Shasanya to introduce Afro-Tech Girls and share a bit about International Day of Women and Girls in STEM, just to add to what you shared. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Can you all hear me okay? Is my sound good? Great, awesome. Thank you so much, Yvonne. I don't know who is excited in this house, because me, I am. Because first of all, this is our first ever conference. So a big, huge thank you to all 106 of you who are on here, and to IHS, especially, for giving us, I'd say, lighting the fire to, to give us the boldness to do this. It's amazing. The rush of energy, wow, I'm short of words, honestly. The excitement is through the roof, and I'm so excited. So with this same vein, I want to wish everybody happy International Women's Day in Science. I'm sorry, a happy International Women's and Girls in Science Day. And I think it's very important, because to give some context about the background, right? I'm here, but I am not standing by myself. I am with two amazing co-founders, Yvonne Undu Ameronike Adewale Sadiq. I would even like to also call our coordinator, who is a very critical part of ATG. Her name is Adora. She's not on this call right now. She's on the ground making things work. And the three of us, including Adora and a host of volunteers, our board, a lot of us just share this vision to ensure that, a lot of girls who are like us, so African girls who have grown up in Nigeria, even if not grown up in Nigeria, in some way identify as being Nigerians, are given an opportunity to succeed, especially in the STEM field, because we already understand what our society tells us, that, you're a woman, you're not able to do X, Y, Z. And that is what Afro-Tech stands for. So Afro-Tech Girls was set up actually in 2015. So we are about 6 years old this year. So it's amazing, the journey so far. It started off as an idea, just, after a brief time in school and volunteering in a similar organization and reaching out to friends. Marinka and Yvonne and I have been friends for many, many years. And we just spoke and we said, you guys, this is an amazing opportunity. I think we should do this. And we started off going into schools as NYSC students, just letting kids know what the opportunities are available, what opportunities are available in STEM. And we know that across the world, and not even Nigeria, women remain underrepresented in the fields of STEM. So for anyone who is not familiar with STEM, STEM means science, technology, engineering, and math. And this is especially true, especially in many African countries, including Nigeria. For us, we started off with trying to get girls very, sorry, let me retrace my step. The excitement is through the roof, so you can clearly hear it in my voice. I'd say Afro-Tech was born in a way to ensure that girls are encouraged, given that community where, we have programs that cater to the audience, are free, are able to reach our target audience. This is public, private, and just kids all around Nigeria who wouldn't typically have this access or wouldn't typically be given the opportunity in a classroom setting. So with that, we want to show these girls that being a woman in STEM doesn't need to be daunting or intimidating, and connect them to the varying world of STEM, especially through our mentorship programs, our science and math quiz competitions, and even now with a conference such as this. And further on in this conference, we will learn about the STEM at Home kit, and one of the ways we've been able to pivot, especially in this time of COVID, and ensuring that girls are not left behind because they don't have access to the internet or access to computers. But I'm going to speak on now on why this day is particularly important. So some background about this day, the International Day of Girls and Women in STEM and in Science. On the 22nd of December in 2015, the General Assembly decided to establish an annual International Day to recognize the critical role women and girls play in science and technology. The International Day of Women and Girls in Science is celebrated today on the 11th of February, and it was implemented by UNESCO and UN Women. In collaboration, it was established by UNESCO and UN Women. And this is also in collaboration with a lot of organizations like, I'd say, Afro-Tech and private parties like IHS, to ensure that, we're promoting women and girls in science. This day is an opportunity to promote full and equal access to and the participation in science for women and girls. We believe that gender equality is a global priority, and we support young girls, their education, and their full ability to make their ideas heard. I'm so sorry, my dog is acting wild in the background. Sorry, please excuse the background noise. Let me retrace my steps. The gender equality is a global priority for us, and with the support of young girls, their education, and their full ability to make ideas heard are levers for development and peace. And I would speak to the partnership between IHS and Afro-Tech Girls. The primary goal for this partnership is to continue to foster what we have both already done, or what IHS has already been doing in hiring women, in putting women at the forefront of a lot of the activities that they do as an organization, and with the work that we also do as Afro-Tech Girls to encourage more girls, to participate, to be active participants in STEM. Women and girls still remain underrepresented, and this is what drives us each day, each waking moment. It is our desire that more and more women will enter into the STEM space and also be recognized for their contribution and impact. As they say, representation matters. The IHS and Afro-Tech Girls partnership aims to address this by hosting a number of programs catered to girls and young women from the beginning of secondary school through to young working professionals. For the girls, we would host programs such as boot camps, mentorship programs, and career days. In addition to this, we will scale the provision of STEM at home kits across Africa, well, across Nigeria, and then hopefully in the future across Africa. For the young women, we will focus on equipping them with STEM skills via training programs, internships, and ensuring they are a part of the community. Sorry, they're part of a community of like-minded individuals to support them on their journey. I'd just like to say a huge thank you to everyone who has joined us today to celebrate this special day with us. And we're so excited to go on this journey with you. I'm going to hand over to Yvonne.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Adeola. I'm going to hand it over to Cima to share more about this partnership as well from an IHS Nigeria perspective. Why Afro-Tech Girls? Why is this core to what IHS Nigeria is all about? Looking forward to hearing from Cima. Thank you, Adeola, for that introduction.
Okay, thank you again, Yvonne, and thank you, Adeola. Good afternoon, everyone, again, and thank you again for joining us. Over the last 5 years, IHS has collaborated with numerous organizations under our education and economic empowerment pillar. Now I'm talking about our sustainability related activities. The whole idea for us was to bring STEM education and skills to Nigerian youth. Today, the 11th of February, 2021, we are glad to announce our partnership with Afro-Tech Girls. This brilliant nonprofit organization, as Adeola has said, was founded by 3 women with the aim of increasing the participation of women and girls in STEM. So for me, there isn't any better organization for us to be doing this with or going on this journey with. The 2 organizations, IHS and Afro-Tech Girls, we share many of the same goals. And it is with great pleasure and excitement that I would like to take this moment to announce the beginning of a long-term partnership with Afro-Tech Girls and IHS Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cima. We're really excited. Like as Adeola said, like the room is full of excitement. We know like all of the passion that has gone through putting this together, with various members of your team and Afro-Tech Girls as well. We're looking forward to the reach that we're going to have through this partnership, through the amazing programs that Adeola mentioned, as well as additional ones that will be brought into the pipeline as well. So thank you both for that welcome and kickoff. I will be transitioning quickly into our next segment, and we're really excited about the speakers that we have today. We have like amazing women lined up to share with you all various things about their journey and their experiences. And I have the great pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker. Our keynote address is going to be given by Dr. Ngozi Onyia. She's the Managing Director of Palin Memorial. We're really excited to have her here today. A bit about Dr. Ngozi, for those who don't know her, is Dr. Ngozi Onyia is the Managing Director and founder of Palin Memorial, like I just shared. She has over 39 years of experience in the medical field, working for organizations like Nigerian Breweries and NITEL. She's a graduate of the University of Ibadan and has an MBA from the Lagos Business School. And I love the fact that as part of her bio, she has also added that she's a grandma. So we have someone here that is also very family oriented and has led the path and is a trailblazer in her career. Thank you, Ma, for joining us today. We're looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Adeola, for inviting me. Yvonne, actually, you just spoke now, for inviting me. I've been having a hard time imagining why I should be a keynote speaker at this program, especially because I think many people do not consider medicine as part of STEM. Some will not. Some will say medicine is more of an art than a science, but medicine is an art and it is a science. When I was in secondary school, I was considered a science student. I did A-levels in physics, chemistry, and biology. before we went on to study medicine. So I'll share my screen if you give me a minute to do so. Okay. I hope this will work. Okay. I didn't know about the partnership between IHS and Afro-Tech, but I'm very happy to be speaking on this forum because the first person who called me was, I think it was Cima from IHS, and I said I will do anything for IHS. IHS is a great company that partners with other companies. It's a great company indeed. So I will start by, no, sorry, this is not what I want to share. I made a post on LinkedIn, and I talked about feeling like St. Paul, who called himself an apostle born out of time. I feel a little bit like St. Paul now. Okay, here it is now, finally. I wonder, for all kinds of reasons, I feel like St. Paul. You can see me struggling a little bit with my slides, but I'll get there. Okay.
No worries.
All right. Okay. I will get there. Okay. Okay. So I'm talking about thriving as a woman in STEM. So if you accept that as a doctor, I'm a part of STEM. Of course, STEM is the principle of STEM is very new. I left medical school 39 years ago, 1982, which means I left secondary school, A-levels in 77. So I will follow this outline here. I'll talk a little bit about myself, a little bit about Pelon Memorial Hospital, and then I'll tell you about the guiding principles that had led me to where I am today. I'll talk about my journey with COVID, and then resilience. Resilience, I think, is an extremely important topic to discuss now, because I think that's what we're talking about. COVID has impacted the world in such a way that everything, all our old norms, everything has shaken. And it's only the resilient people who will thrive indeed and survive COVID. So let me start by introducing myself by saying that I was very much of a daddy's girl. I was my dad's favorite child, I think so. And I think, although I suspect my brother, my sister might think they were also his favorite children as well. And my dad was a doctor. He was my role model. He was my idol. He was everything to me. So I remember when I left medical school, at the time there wasn't JAM, we will apply either what we call prelim or direct entry. So I went through direct entry. I had only one choice, of course, and that was medicine. So we had three options: first choice, second, and third. But for me, my first choice was medicine, second choice was medicine, and my third choice was medicine. If I hadn't been accepted to study medicine in 1977, I think I would have just repeated the following year. Luckily, I was accepted. Here's a picture of me and some of my classmates, and see how few of us were girls. So there were 3 girls in this group. So we were each. I'm sure some of you might recognize some of the other people. So each class was divided into subgroups. So this was D79, the group I belonged to, and you notice that there were only 3 girls. I think less than 30% of my classmates were women in medical school. Another person who influenced me strongly in my life is a lady I call Koki. But when I show you her photograph, none of you will know her, or many of you will have known of her. She was a strong woman, a very strong woman. And I remember when I was in lower six, I was quite troublesome. I was young and immature in secondary school. I started young. So I
Apologies, Dr. Onyia.
Over to you, Emily Abraham, to be able to thank. Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
So I've muted myself, I'll go on. So I was saying, so when I was in lower six, I remember she called me to her office one day, two of us, Agnes and I, and said to me, I'm going to appoint you school prefects. She says, all the members of staff, all the other members of staff are against appointing both of you because you're both troublesome girls. But she said to us, but I identified that you have leadership potential. At this point, I was 16 years old. I didn't know what leadership potential was. But one thing I knew for sure was I wasn't going to let her down. And I changed from that day. And I think it led me to where I am today. And I don't think I've disappointed her. So these are the two people I talked about. That my daddy and I on my graduation day, 1982. And the second person, Mrs. Efunjoke Koka, was my school principal for 7 years in Queen's College. The picture of me and her maybe 4 or 5 years ago before she passed on. Okay. So what about Pelon? So the story of Pelon is the story of someone getting on a flight, traveling with the intention of going to Holland, and then suddenly you hear the pilot announcing that you arrived in Italy. You have one of two choices: make a big fuss about the fact that you didn't go where you were planning to go, or you can just learn to enjoy your vacation in Italy. It's a story of making lemonade out of lemons. And on this journey, I've had various partners I'm going to acknowledge. So let me start by talking about Patricia. Patricia was born in 1994, the 25th of May to me. She was a long expected child, my third child, and ended up being my last. She was born 9 years after my second child. I was now an older, more established mom, looking forward to having Patricia. And then Patricia was born in 1994 with something called the Child syndrome. She had 6 different congenital anomalies. She was born with 6 different abnormalities that we will call it layman's term. And so began this journey of my life with Patricia. Patricia was the lemon that life handed me, and I tried to make lemonade out of her. She lived for 9 years, and she was my focus for those 9 years while she was there. I became strong because I was Patricia's mother. She passed on in 2003, couple of months actually after she took this picture. We took this picture together. And so in her memory, I established a hospital, PA for Patricia, EL for Elosia, her middle name, and ON for Onyia in 2010, after I took my exit from Nigerian Breed. This was my last paid employment. And I had people who helped me in the journey, because one of the most important things you must realize you need in life to be able to thrive is a team. You need a network, a strong network. So the first people I will acknowledge will be my other 2 children. Interestingly, this picture was taken, I think, in 2016, soon after my daughter, Unama, had her first child and made me a grandma for the first time. Unama, interestingly, may have been more appropriate on this Zoom call because she's an engineer. She's a mechanical engineer, but she works with me in the hospital as the chief operating officer. So Unama, my daughter, and my son Abasam were very hands-on in helping me start the practice in 2010. But between 2010 and 2011, which is a long time now, it's 11 years, 11 long years, okay, I've had a strong team of people. People bought into my vision, into my dream, and together we built Pelon Memorial Hospital. Some of those people are in this picture. So this is the third picture, the photograph of the opening ceremony of our new, well, it's no longer so new, our current location on Ahmadu Bello Way. Okay. So what will I say are the guiding principles that led me to where I am today? I learned just yesterday about these 3 principles by 3 rules to follow by Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz is a well-known he was an American footballer and went on to become a coach. He's a grand old man now, but he said, first, do the right thing. And then do the best you can as you're doing the right thing. And always show people you care. Without people, You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything without people. I'm very pleased to see that Adeola keeps acknowledging the other young ladies who joined her to build her dream, because people are very important in anything you do in life, and you must show them that you care for them, that you're not seeing them just as a resource to be used, but that you truly care for them. So do the right thing, do the best you can, and always show people you care. And I think when I heard this yesterday, it resonated so well with me, because this has been the story of my life. So I swore to this oath, that's my signature, on the 22nd of June, 1982. It's called the Physician's Oath. And I stand by that oath, and I've stood by that oath over the last 39 years. And so it brings me to the journey to COVID, and which is where I will acknowledge IHS very much. So in an attempt to do the right thing, to do my best, and to show people that I cared, on the 27th of February this last year, we had the first case of COVID in Nigeria. And so I called my team, because I care about them. And I said to them, you know that we will treat COVID. We will not turn any patient back, because when we took our oath, we didn't swear to look after certain patients and not look after others. So we're just trying to do the right thing. But I also acknowledge that not everybody will share my sentiments. And so I said to my team, we had a town hall meeting, and I said, if anybody is scared, they should please identify themselves so that they can take a leave of absence. Of course, we all thought at the beginning that COVID would be around for a month or two, and then it would be gone. Looking back now, what a laugh. Anyway, so I said, anybody who's scared and cannot and is not willing to treat COVID can take a back step for a while. And 3 people opted to take a leave of absence, 2 doctors and a nurse, and the rest said they will treat COVID and they'll do whatever I said. I received a phone call on the 23rd of March from another doctor who asked me if I would be willing to admit a patient who was likely to have COVID and who needed ventilation, because we have a ventilator in our hospital. And because it was the right thing to do, we accepted the lady in to the hospital. I also, sometime toward the end of March, I got a phone call from Mr. Jubil Shaba, who, by the way, I still have never met, who is the Human Resource Director of IHS Towers. And a couple of other people had called because they realized that we had a ventilation. And at the beginning of COVID, everybody thought COVID was about ventilation. So I got this phone call asking if we would be willing to treat their patients if required. And I said, I'd be very willing to treat your patients. However, I have only 1 ventilator, and I have 1 patient on the ventilator now. So if for any reason you have a patient now, I cannot take a patient. And Mr. Shaba says to me, we are willing to help you to buy more ventilators if required. But then we had a space constraint. So I said to him, a space constraint, we only had 2 beds. Anyway, the phone call from Dr. TM and the admission of the lady led to the establishment of a chat group, because the son of the patient we admitted, when he heard we were closing 1 branch for strategic reasons, simply because we didn't have enough patients coming into either branch, he said to me, why are you closing that branch? Why don't you convert it to a treatment center? And he said the most important thing, I will help you. At the point we're very cash strapped, we're paying half salary. So I said, yes, we have the willingness to do the right thing. We just don't have the ability. But when he said, I will help you. So I said, okay. And then I called Mr. Shaba as well to say, now we're thinking of converting the Ikeja hospital into a treatment center. Are you still willing to help us equip the hospital? And I would proudly and gladly say that IHS was very, very instrumental to establishing the Ikeja COVID treatment center. Interestingly, I've never had to look after their patients, interestingly. So, Cima, please extend my gratitude to your establishment, to your organization for the support they have granted us, for enabling us, for giving us wings to fly, for enabling us to do the right thing. And then we opened on the 6th of June, and the rest of it is history. So it's the first COVID case, the town hall meeting, the phone call, admission of Mrs. LG, phone call to and so on and so forth. Okay, and that's how since the 6th of June 2020, we've opened our doors to COVID patients. We've never closed our doors to COVID patients. Till date, this is just very brief. Till date, we've seen something close to 2,000, about 1,900 patients we have seen as outpatients in both locations, both Victoria Island and Ikeja. We have admitted 182, as I speak, patients of the almost 2,000 we have seen. So we only admit the seriously to critically ill. The mildly ill or the not ill will stay home and self-isolate. So we have admitted about 182 seriously to critically ill people, and we have lost, unfortunately, 27 of them. So for my young people who are listening to us on this call, COVID is real. I think I lost a patient either this week or last week. So over the last 1 year, with a lot of trepidation, I will look at my phone and I will hear so-and-so is struggling, so-and-so is dead. COVID is real, very real. Yes, it doesn't kill young people, but then the young people get infected and then they infect the older members of their family or the older people they work with, or just older people in society who now struggle for their lives, and then some of them end up losing their lives. So I have a couple of workmen in my house doing some renovation for me. And then they will come in because they're young men and they will not wear their masks. I have a pack of masks here, which I think it's outside now, which I will insist that they will wear one mask before they come into my house. And I say to them, if you catch COVID, you will shake it off as a cold. I said, if you give me COVID, if I catch COVID from you, I will struggle for my life. So talking about resilience, I think that's one character trait I now have developed from having Patricia as a child and from life happening to me. So what are the attributes I think any resilient person should have? I think first is you should have the courage of conviction. And I will refer to this great man, Martin Luther King. This is what he said. He said, you may be 38 years old, as I happen to be, and one day some great opportunity stands before you and calls you to stand up for some great principle, some great issue, some great cause. And you refuse to do it because you are afraid. You refuse to do it because you want to live longer. You are afraid that you will lose your job, or you are afraid that you will be criticized, or that you will lose your popularity, or that you are afraid that somebody will stab you or shoot at you or bomb your house. So you refuse to take the stand. Well, you may go on and live until you are 90, but you are just as dead at 38 as you will be at 90. And the cessation of breathing in your life is but the belated announcement of an earlier death of the spirit. The man who had the courage of conviction, he's been dead for well over 50 years, but we remember him, and we will remember him for a long time. Then we must learn to face our fears and deal with them. So treating COVID is not that we don't fear that we will catch COVID. I just heard today another colleague died on Monday because he treated the COVID patient. This is the reality. We will face our fears, we will put it in context, but we will act anyway. We must have a moral compass that guides us. You must be guided by a moral compass, and your moral compass cannot be the love of money. It has to be something that is transcendent, something higher than the material things. Faith and spirituality, very important. Where will I have been without my faith? Physical fitness makes a big difference. You need to be strong in your body to be strong in your mind. You need a healthy mind in a healthy body. Physical fitness, we should never underscore it. It's also of importance to say people who are physically fit tend to handle the illness a little better than those who are less fit. Okay. So talking about the importance of faith, that's a photograph of myself and my pastor. It's very important to me. My faith plays a very, very important role in my life, extremely important role. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have the faith I profess. Physical fitness, very important to me, okay? Then there must be a purpose to your life. Don't just exist. You are young people, you have the benefit of many years ahead of you. Find your purpose. Why are you here on earth? What are you here to do? You can never underestimate the importance of your social network. Your net worth is only as large as your network. I will say that again. Your net worth is only as large as your network. People, and people again. Role models you should look up to. I've spoken about my dad. I've spoken about my principal in secondary school, Mrs. Coker. Another great role model of mine. No, another great role model of mine, Professor Adeola, the founder of Lagoon Hospital. And I remember attending his wake keep and listening to a video they made of him, a man who, in my opinion, taught me not only how to live, but also how to die. Because at this point, he knew he was dying, and they recorded a video of him. And when he was asked, he said, "How do you want to be remembered?" He said, "I want to be remembered." His voice was frail and weak at this time. He said, "I want to be remembered. I want them to say, I did my best. I did my best." He did his best. We will remember him. Okay? We must also, if you want to thrive, you must grow continuously. You cannot say that you know everything or you have arrived. Nobody has arrived. So growth, you must continuously grow. And then you must stay optimistic about life, which is why I feel very worried when all I see trending on social media is what is negative. It's affecting our mental health. I think the biggest victim of COVID is the mental health of people, not so much the physical health. There are 7 billion of us on earth. Maybe 2 million people about have died. It's a lot of people. And for each person that has died, it's everybody to the person that died. But I'm sure something like 70% of people have had all kinds of mental health issues from this pandemic. I'm almost done. Because of the things they're listening to. So you must stay optimistic. These are some very important social supports I had over the last 1 year. Saidat, my working partner, this was my 60th birthday. We walked together every morning, and talking to her made a big difference to my mental health and gave me the strength to continue. Dapo, my lawyer, who helped me so much in seeing everything through, registering the company, accrediting it, and so on and so forth. So many times I wanted to give up, but Saidat and Dapo will keep egging me on to go on. And Sachin, whose mom was the patient I looked after, the first person who gave me the call and said to me, "Convert it to a treatment center, I will help you." So what are the lessons I've learned? The importance of a team, a very big team. I mean, a very strong team, not big, a strong team. And then you should create an environment that fosters growth. So lead like a gardener, not like a general. So no micromanaging of anybody, but plant, nurture, water, support, prune, do whatever you need to do, but let people grow. Let them learn from their mistakes. Give them room. Adopt new ways. Use technology. Before 2020, this will have been a live meeting and I'll have been standing in front of you. Today, this is technology we are all using. Sorry, somebody can't hear me. Can anyone hear? Can everyone else hear me?
Yes, ma, we can.
Okay, sorry. Okay. So technology, so Zoom. I now do a lot of my consultation by Zoom, a lot of my consultation. So telemedicine and so on. Then very important, please, focus on creating value, on solving a problem, not making money. If you focus on making money, you will miss it. Focus on solving a problem. But when you solve a problem, you will make money. And above all, hang in there. Don't give up. So this is my strong team. Many hands, one mind. Many hands, one mind. That's my team. Some members of my team, some members of my team. And then stress can induce growth. I learned this from a class I attended yesterday. So an event occurs, whatever the event. For me, it was Patricia's birth, but it can also be COVID. So first we'll fight it, then you face it, accept it, you get past it, and then you grow because of it. And then we thrive and we flourish. So I can only wish all you young ladies here that you thrive and you flourish. My favorite role, which is why I identified myself as a grandma, the joys of my life, aging and Charlene. Thank you for listening to me.
Wow, thank you so much, Ma. Like, I'm so inspired by your share, and like I was concentrating throughout, and I just had a moment to look at the chat, and like everyone is resonating the same message. We're so thankful that you could make out this time to be with us. There were so many, I love how you shared with us, because with our young girls, and right now we have about 100 students watching us from their school. So I'm sure that they can relate with like how you shared about your 16-year-old self and how your principal was able to say, okay, you have leadership potential, and you were able to, you were so encouraged by that to not let her down. The value you place on your team cannot be overemphasized. Your resilience. Thank you for being vulnerable with us. Just share about your personal journey. And we are definitely looking forward to having Unoma at a future event. I'm a mechanical engineering graduate myself, so I'm very curious also to hear from her own journey. But thank you so much, Ma. We were going to, like, if anyone, we were going to take one question, but we don't have the time for that right now. But like, maybe the person can drop it in the chat box, and we'll send that by email to Dr. Ngozi. And we'll just say thank you very much. And now
thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So next up, I'll just transition to the next segment of our agenda. So for those who joined us midway, so we just had Dr. Ngozi Onyia for our keynote address. Just before that, we had the welcome and kickoff by Adeola Shasanya of Afro-Tech Girls and Cima Sholatan of IHS Towers, right? While they were speaking, they talked about one of the initiatives that we're going to be partnering on. And like Dr. Ngozi said, pre-COVID, we would have been able to do this together in person, but because of COVID, we're not able to do that in person. So we wanted to share like a quick, very short video. In no way captures the full essence of the project or of the product, but we wanted you to have an opportunity to see it as well. So I'll be playing a short clip.
The STEM at Home Kit provides a fun and engaging way for students to learn about STEM principles through experimentation right from the comfort of their homes. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, Afro-Tech Girls came up with the STEM at Home Kit as an innovative solution to help students continue their learning from home offline. Going forward, in partnership with IHS, we will be launching additional editions of the kit with the aim to reach more students across Nigeria. Hi everyone, we just finished using the STEM at Home kit and it was very fun, engaging, and you guys should try it. Thank you IHS and Afro-Tech Girls for making this possible.
Awesome. So I hope you all caught a bit of the excitement that we all have with this exciting project. Like was shared, it was a way to reach girls in spite of COVID being a limitation for most girls being able to learn. So just to keep us on track with the timing, I'm going to introduce Morenike Adewale Sadiq, who's another co-founder of Afro-Tech Girls, and she will be moderating our panel discussion. So for our panel discussion, I won't say much about the speakers because Morenike will be doing that, but the topic of the panel discussion is women scientists at the forefront of the fight against COVID-19. As you can tell, from the flyers that have been put out there, this is the focus of this event. This is the focus of this event. We just heard from Dr. Ngozi and her own journey as well in being a superhero on the front lines of fighting the COVID fight. One thing that I would just like to add before I hand it over to Morenike is as part of the ways to just recognize everyone that has made out the time to join today. We understand that data can sometimes be a limitation to a lot of the things that we want to do virtually. So thanks to the support of our partners, IHS Towers, we will be providing 100 participants with data with data of up to 2,000 Naira. So for that to happen, we'll be dropping a link in the chat box. So please, if you're joining us from Nigeria, please fill out the form and we'll connect with you later on to provide you with the data refund. So it's not going to come in cash, it's going to come in data, just to clarify. Okay, so I'll hand it over to Morenike. Really looking forward to this panel discussion, and over to you.
Thank you, Yvonne. Good afternoon, everyone. It's so great to be here. I think Dr. Ngozi's keynote speech was so inspiring, and I just want to say thank you very, very much, Dr. Onyia. That was amazing. I mean, just to hear your entire journey from end to end, really condensed. I'm sure if we had more time, I'm sure there's so much more that we could learn from you. But I think, we were just looking at some of the comments from the girls in the chat, and, someone is like, hey, I'm here from Government Senior College, Ikoyi, like, there's lots of people on this call that are going to benefit a lot from that conversation. So just wanted to say thank you very much again to Dr. Onyia. In terms of the panel discussion today, like Yvonne said, we're going to be discussing women scientists at the forefront of the fight of the COVID-19 pandemic. And today I have with me three amazing, amazing scientists. And I'm just going to introduce them very quickly, one by one. So the first person we have is Dr. Mobola Oyefule, sorry. And she's a 30-year-old surgeon. She's currently practicing in minimally invasive surgery at the Mayo Clinic. She enjoys reading, eating spicy food, hosting parties, and retreating to the beachside. We also have Yetunde Adewunmi, PhD, who is a microbiologist. She's a research scientist at the New York State Department of Health. Yetunde has been looking at the efficacy and safety of vaccines against bacterial pathogens, so very relevant to our conversation today as well. She loves science and she also loves to teach it. I know she's very passionate about mentoring and tutoring young girls as well. And finally, we have Dr. Kemi Ezenwanne. Dr. Kemi is a medical doctor with over 5 years of experience in the field, 5 years experience as a medical officer, sorry. Her desire to contribute to her country and to Nigeria has led her to actually volunteer at the Etiosa Isolation Center, where she's been involved in the management of confirmed cases of COVID-19. So those are my three wonderful panelists for this afternoon. And I think if we can just start, maybe Mobola will start with you. And if you could just share with us a little bit about yourself and your story, and for you, what it means to be a woman in science.
Okay, thank you. I just unmuted myself. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon for those in the afternoon, and good morning for everyone who's in the morning. My name is Mobola Oyefule. As Morenike said, I am currently a general surgeon, and I'm doing a minimally invasive surgery fellowship at the Mayo Clinic. So my journey into science started, at secondary school. So, obviously when you get to SS1 and SS2, you have to pick whether you go to science class, or it used to be like, I guess, business or commercial. That's what we called it. Yeah. And then, you know, I picked science because I like biology, I like chemistry, not really physics. So it's too technical for me. But I liked, you know, the biological sciences. And I knew I wanted to be a doctor because my father is a doctor, actually. So it was something that always interested me. But then I thought that I wanted to do infectious diseases, because living in Nigeria, that was my idea of what medicine was. I had no idea that there were any other, you know, subspecialties. I mean, I knew there were pediatricians and, you know, gynecologists, but I maybe wasn't as interested in those. And so I started my undergraduate degree at American University. And then from there, in America, the system has you do an undergraduate degree and then go to medical school. So I did that. In medical school, you know, I was tunnel vision. I'm going to be an infectious diseases doctor. And then you have to pick your rotations. And my first rotation was surgery. And you usually do the rotation that you don't want to go into first, so that you're like prepared when you get to the one that you want to get into. And I did surgery, and I was like, oh my God, obviously I'm not very self-aware, because this is what I want to do and this is what I'm good at. And so that's how I got into surgery. You know, I never like was one of those people that dreamt that I'd be a surgeon, but you know, that's how I started. And as I, you know, progressed through surgery, I was really interested in gastrointestinal surgery. And so because of that, I'm doing a minimally invasive surgery fellowship, which that really entails doing weight loss surgery, obesity surgery, surgery for solid organs, so stomach surgery, liver surgery, pancreas surgery, hernia repairs, things of that nature. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Mobola, and very excited to get into the detail a bit more as we continue. Yetunde, if I could just hand over to you just for a short introduction about yourself and what's led you into microbiology.
Hi everyone, thank you IHS and Afro-Tech girls for organizing this. This is like so amazing. I wish I had this when I was growing up, right? So for me, kind of like Mobola, secondary school most likely dictates how or where you may necessarily end up. So I was in science class, and unlike Mobola, I didn't want to be a doctor. I knew that, you know, working with blood and all that stuff wasn't my gig. So, and I loved biology and chemistry. So it was either I did microbiology or biochemistry at the time. So after I graduated from high school, secondary school, I proceeded to Babcock University to get my undergraduate degree in microbiology. And as soon as I graduated, so I'm very fortunate to have an older brother who's very great at career mapping. So before I even graduated, he sat me down and was like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I just want to graduate and go to school and get a job. And he's like, what do you mean you want to get a job? Do you know what it takes to get a job? And I was like, what am I supposed to do? So he like helped me. He sat me down. He was like, what are you interested in? I said, okay, while I was in school, I liked teaching a lot. I and my friends used to sit down together, and you know, I would be because the way I learn is teaching. So I'll have to teach you so that I can understand what we were taught in class. So that's how we used to study together. And so he was like, oh, you need to get a PhD. I was like, I don't want to study anymore. Like, I'm done with school. I just want to go and get money. And he's like, no, that's not what PhD is all about. So he kind of schooled me in that process. And he drew a map for me. This is what you need to do now. This is what you need to do as soon as you get out of college. This is what you need to be doing during your NYSC if you want to end up doing a PhD. But aside that, what really helps me to hone my idea of becoming a scientist was that there was so much investment. So my parents had invested a lot in my education. And education is not cheap. I wasn't willing to give that up. And I had also invested a lot of my time. So when I was in school, I was hardcore. I used to study a lot. I spent a lot of my time. I had sleepless nights trying to pass my exams. And I wasn't going to give up on that because, even if microbiology in Nigeria isn't as great as we want it to be, I had invested so much and I wasn't willing to let that go. And I was going to do whatever it took for me to grow my biology and grow in my STEM career. So that's really what inspired me or made me decide that I was going to do this.
Great, thank you very much for sharing, Yetunde. And you've touched on something very interesting, which is the power of community and how just having role models in your life. In your case, it was your brother, just having that person who was encouraging you and saying to you, look, you should do this and this is the way you should go. Honestly, that truly is very valuable, especially for women in STEM. I'm going to go to you now, Kemi. If you could just share a bit about yourself and your background.
Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you again for having me. So I'm Kemi Ezenwanne and I'm a medical doctor. I work in Lagos, Nigeria. And for me, I think right from the time I was young, I've always wanted to be a doctor. I'm not sure who I saw because I don't have any person that is a doctor or a nurse or in the medical profession, but it was just something I wanted to do. I think it was fancy, you know, at that time, because I was in primary school when I knew I wanted to be a doctor. And then I got into secondary school. I loved integrated science. I got into senior secondary school and I really, really loved biology. So I decided that I was going to be a doctor. But then I kept economics because I wanted it to be a backup plan in case, you know, being a doctor didn't work out. So I ended up, and there were so many of us that really wanted to be doctors, but many people fell off the bandwagon. So while I was getting into university, I went to Canadian University, Okada, and I remember thinking to myself, like, is this what I really want to do? Because at that time, we're having challenges in school with accreditation, and people were staying, you know, really long in school. But I think that just there is a human compassionate nature to me. I just want to nurture, I want to care for people, you know, so it just made me stay. And I've not had any regrets so far. Like it's been an amazing journey. And then just being in Nigeria, like working here and seeing that there is so much you can do to make changes and to effect changes has just kept me going. So yeah, that's my short story.
Great. Thank you very, very much for sharing. So I think there was just a message in the chat. So as we go through the discussion, if you have any questions for any of the panelists, please feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll pick them up as we go. But just before we get into questions from the audience, you know, let's try and draw a bit more of some of your stories. So Kemi, for example, I was wondering, you know, you're in Lagos, you're in Nigeria. The theme of this conference is Women's Scientists at the Forefront of COVID-19. I would love if you could just share with us a little bit about what is the experience like working at an isolation center? Have you had any particular challenges that you can share with us, just to, you know, make it a bit more real for the rest of us who see COVID as something that's, you know, maybe we're in our houses or going about our daily lives and don't really see the day-to-day effects of COVID-19?
Okay, so like Dr. Onyia, you know, shared, we got the first case in Nigeria last year on the 27th of February. And I remember thinking to myself, how can I had a hospital I was working at, but I just wanted to, you know, be a part because I knew that volunteers would be needed. There'll be lots of research. And the thing is, at that time, I even wasn't thinking about going into an actual isolation center. I just wanted to just help out with research. So I started looking out for opportunities. I was, you know, asking questions, making calls. If you know anybody, you know, if you hear anything about volunteering or research, can you just let me know, you know? So I got two of those opportunities to volunteer, and I remember, you know, everyone just being really worried about that decision to go, you know, away, because what that entailed meant that I needed to, you know, pack my things, be away from family, and be isolated, you know, right there at the center. And I remember it was really hard because nobody knew how it was going to end up. We didn't know it was going to be as virulent as Ebola. I also worked as a house officer during Ebola, and I remember we had a case that had come in and the woman was bleeding and she just died within like an hour, and all my colleagues had to be quarantined. So and isolated, you know. So I was worried, but for me, I think the curiosity about just wanting to be a part of what was going on, you know, overcame my fear. So we went in, and thankfully we're not just thrown in. We had to have some training, you know, because one thing I realized is every time you get knowledge, then whatever fear you have concerning any matter reduces. So fear thrives in the absence of knowledge. Yeah. If you see any man that is afraid, check, there is no knowledge base. You know, so the more I got trained, the more I realized that there was really nothing to be afraid of. If I wore my masks, if I took all the safety protocols very seriously, then I would most likely not get it. And then even if I got it, I was young and I felt like, okay, my body system could fight it. You know, so I went in there, and it was so funny because when we lost our first patient, it was huge for us, because when COVID patients come in, they don't come in dying. They come most of the time, you know, they come in, they are telling you what is wrong with them, and then you just see how they deteriorate really fast. And I often, it'll be crazy when you come on social media and you're seeing people, you know, having a swell time, having parties, moving around without face masks, and it's like, I'm here, like I'm away from my family, and you guys are just having a ball, you know. So I always used to tell people, and then people will call me like, tell me the truth, is that really real? And I remember I had worked in the isolation center for a month before I came out on social media to, you know, say that I was working there. And one of the reasons I informed that decision was just so people could put a face to the person behind the mask, behind the PPEs, because we had seen, because even me, before I went in there, I was searching out for videos on you know, the internet, videos from my colleagues in the UK, in the US, and you just had all these people that looked like they were going to the moon. So I said, okay, if people see me, see that I'm relatable, then they can know. But I always tell people when they call and ask, is COVID really real? And I'm like, those numbers that you see, number of deaths, number of, you know, new cases, those are people with families, people with mothers, people with, you know, children that have just died, you know, because of some carelessness of some sort. So really, it's not been, I've been working there since April, you know, with COVID, and it's almost a year. And it's been one of the most daunting, you know, things I've ever done in my life. But COVID is real, guys. Like, there's no other way to put it out there.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Kemi. And really, I have to say, well done to you. I don't think there's many people in this world that can claim to have the tenacity and the courage to do what you're doing, to have volunteered and put yourself forward to go to the isolation center. You know, you mentioned being away from your family. So I love the fact that you're here and we can just make it real and, you know, show people that yes, those numbers are real, those numbers are people, but also all of our doctors, nurses, frontline workers, those are also real people who, whilst we may have the liberty of working from home if we do, or going into the office a couple of times a week or so, there's some people that are going there every day. So as a society, we need to be responsible in how we're reacting to this pandemic. And I absolutely love what you said. That's going to be my new tagline. Fear thrives in the absence of knowledge. I hope I got it. I hope I got it right, because that was just brilliant. And I think one of the things that we've seen throughout the pandemic has been that, you know, if you go on WhatsApp, there's been so much misinformation or disinformation, whatever you're going to call it. We're seeing, like, you know, inhale steam, have lemon and ginger, do this, take this drug, take that drug. And so, Yetunde, I just want to focus on you for a moment, you know, in microbiology and in your research, and just ask you, like, what do you think about some of the things that people are coming up with, and some of the more wild things that we've seen on WhatsApp and social media in general? Are any of these things useful?
Thank you, Morenike. That's such a great question, because when COVID started, that's what everybody was talking about. They're like, oh, you know, boil the back of pineapple, it's the back of oranges, and take zinc and so many things. And I'm like, or use antibiotics as prophylaxis. And yeah, I studied for 5 years. My research was studying antibiotic resistance. For 5 years, I've learned that in 35 years from now, or 33 now, people will start dying of common infections, like pregnant women who go into surgery for cesarean section because antibiotics are no longer effective. They could die because they literally went through a surgery. And here people are telling me that I should take antibiotics as prophylaxis to prevent from getting COVID. That is a virus. Antibiotics are not even going to work at preventing a viral infection. So for me, COVID was an opportunity for me to teach the people that were around me, to tell them, hey, you need to relax. Take the things that you're hearing in the media. You need to social distance. You need to wear your mask. Don't go and take things that you don't even know if the composition is going to hurt your own self and make you even sicker than you shouldn't even be. So for me, that was it. It's like just educating people and telling them, hey, don't take what you're not supposed to take. It could eventually make things worse for yourself. And right now it's very interesting because of the fact that people are now taking a lot of antibiotics, or because a lot of people have been in the hospital, for instance, for COVID, they've spent weeks than they normally would in the hospital, which is where antibiotic resistant pathogens usually thrive. Now we are curious, like the microbiology community is curious to see how there has been a shift in the antibiotic resistance profile that is now out there. Because what happens when COVID is over? Are we going to start fighting another war with antibiotic resistant pathogens? So this is what people are looking at right now. And I would just say that, COVID is real. Don't take unknown formulations of drugs that you do not know, because these things, there's a reason why your doctor will prescribe a medication to you and will say take it only once daily or 2 times daily. It's because they've already tested the efficacy of the drug against your own cells, and they know that if you use it 3 times daily, you'll probably be killing your own cells rather than in addition to killing the bug that you're trying to kill. So please don't go and concoct some concoctions and try to prevent yourself from getting COVID. Social distance, protect yourself, put on your mask, and do the best that you can. That's just what I'll have to say.
Thank you very much, Yetunde. And I think just, again, on this thing of misinformation and to something that Kemi shared earlier, I think, we just need to, let's do what we've been told to do. I understand that, everybody is trying to find something, everybody's trying to do something, but, as you said, there's some of these things that may actually end up harming you as an individual, and also harming society if, in a few decades from now, when hopefully most of us on this call will still be alive, we're going to be thinking about, can I actually still use antibiotics for common infections that we as a society think that we fought and we're over already. So thank you very much for sharing that. I'm just going to go to Mobola for a moment, because Mobola, as I understand, your fellowship is in minimally invasive surgery. And so just out of curiosity for me, I would love if you could share a bit more on what that is. And also have you seen any changes in maybe people's interest in minimally invasive surgery as the COVID-19 pandemic has raged, for lack of a better word?
Okay. Thank you for that question. Minimally invasive surgery, I guess as an offshoot of general surgery, really is a catch-all phrase for minimally invasive gastrointestinal surgery. So, we'll be operating on any organ that's between the esophagus to the rectum. So basically, but in a minimally invasive fashion, so not an open incision, my focus is bariatric surgery. So that's weight loss surgery. So if you hear that someone's had a gastric sleeve or a gastric bypass, those kind of surgeries. If somebody needs a part of the liver resected or a part of the pancreas removed, or, those kind of organs, if somebody has an abdominal hernia, those are things that we would fix too as well. I think patients have moved more towards, being interested in minimally invasive surgery even before COVID, because, the reason that we do minimally invasive surgery is you can achieve the same purpose, without a huge incision that goes from your breastbone to your pubis. You don't have to be in the hospital for a long period of time. Your recovery is shorter. There's a less risk of infection, less risk of certain complications that come with having, a big incision, and also cosmetically too as well. If you can have little keyhole incisions, why would you want, a gash in the middle of your abdomen? In terms of relating it to COVID, it's kind of actually affected our market a little different than most, because some of the surgeries that we do are elective. A gastric bypass is a life-saving surgery in 20 years, right? Because you lose weight, you lose obesity, you lose hypertension, you lower your cancer risk. but it's not going to change anything, from today to tomorrow. So patients are putting it off. So which means that they're sitting at home and they are, they're sitting with their chronic disease at home, right? And think about cancer patients too as well. If you have a colon cancer and you were supposed to come for surgery, but you're afraid that I don't want to catch COVID in the hospital and the ER, then you sit at home and your colon cancer progresses. So it's kind of affected it negatively. And people have done studies, looking at patients last year. I mean, when I be on call, I get called to the ER, people who they sat at home, their colon perforated, or, they had an ulcer that perforated and they didn't come because they're like, I'll deal with the pain. I just can't deal with COVID, just because, again, like Kemi said, just the fear and the misinformation about COVID. But I guess on the positive side too, as well, just telemedicine in general. Like we're here on Zoom. I'm halfway across the world. You can talk to your patients anytime, and so the follow up is actually a lot better because they get also, like Dr. Onyia said, I can consult with patients from home, and when I release them from the hospital and they've only been there for 2 days because they had a minimally invasive operation instead of an open operation, I can call them, and connect with them through the electronic medical record. And a lot of those things have been fast tracked. Like it's not uncommon now for your doctor to call you on Zoom because we're trying to limit the exposure that people have to the healthcare system if they don't, need to be there. So it's helped with innovation, but we'd really like COVID to go away so that people can come back and have their surgeries.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that point of innovation is one that's very interesting because, I was having a conversation with someone about technology and how technology is really everywhere now. I think a few years ago, maybe 5-10 years ago, we could talk about technology and the technology space almost in isolation of other spaces. But today, there's nothing without technology, whether it's fintech, health tech, food tech, there's something tech with everything. And so one of the things that, as you rightly said, that we've seen through this pandemic is just that escalation of the rate of change of how we can use technology, I think, in the medical field. So it's been really great to see as well. Now, I have 3 amazing women on my panel, and we're talking about women in science and I guess more broadly women in STEM. So I just have to ask you guys, or you ladies, what are some of the gender, have you dealt with any gender bias? Have you dealt with anyone questioning why you're in science or in STEM based on your gender? And maybe Kemi, we can start with you. Okay, there we go.
Okay. So, well, I've gotten that, and I mean, nobody really comes to say, oh, why are you a doctor or why are you going to school? Because I mean, a lot of ladies, study medicine. But I think over the last year, one question I've gotten a lot, has been, why did you go to an isolation center to volunteer? Like, what is pushing you? What is driving you? And I had someone ask me that very recently. Like he was asking, he's a colleague, and he was like, come, you chop liver. I don't know if you understand when you say somebody chops liver, like, how can you're a woman, like, why did you decide? What made you just decide? You just woke up. Wait, explain, help me understand. Like, is it that you just woke up? Is it that you don't like your life? You just woke up and decided to go to an isolation center to treat COVID. Were you not scared that you were going to die? But the thing for me, is I don't see myself in terms of my skills or my capabilities or when I think about my brain and what I can do, I don't think that, oh, I'm a woman, so I should be limited or restricted to something, or, oh, I'm married. I remember then when I was in school, a lot of people just used to, they honestly just couldn't wait to graduate so they could get married. And for me, it was like, there is so much more to being a woman than just ending up being married. And I used to wonder to myself, like, why would I, so after suffering, after all these years of studying, he's now just end up being married and cooking in the kitchen and taking care of babies. There has to be more, and to every young girl that is listening, to us this afternoon, it's afternoon already, I need you to know that there is so much more to you. You have potential that hasn't even been, you've not scratched the surface of your potential. And so don't ever allow anyone put a lid to how far you can go, because there is no reason why a man should be able to go and volunteer and I can't. Or there is no reason why a man should, or a boy should study engineering and I shouldn't. I know that was also something that I got. My roommate while I was in university was studying chemical engineering. And then there were very few girls. And even the girls, they used to ask them, what are people looking for here? Go and study medicine, banking and finance, accounting, So it's something that you would face every single day, as you make choices that are, somehow not in tangent with the status quo, but you should be ready to, defend your decision as long as it's what you want, just go for it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Kemi. And Yesli, maybe I'll ask you the same question, but I'll phrase it in a slightly different way. I've seen a couple of questions on the chat asking about, microbiology and doing a PhD. And, would love to hear your thoughts on being a woman with a PhD in a science field, but also when people hear PhD, they just think of academia. Like what do you do? What do women who have PhDs, what are the options for them in the science field?
Okay, so I really like what Kemi said, but just before I answer your question, Veronica, I want to piggyback on what she said is, for the benefit of people that are in this category, when there's a gender bias with you being in STEM or whatever, sometimes imposter syndrome can be at play. And what you don't know is that if you are not confident, you should know you're here. There's a reason you are in science. It's because you're intelligent and it's because you can do it and you should be confident. But if you're not confident, if there's a little part of you that is not confident, people can tell, but you don't know. People can tell. I tell you what, I work with vaccines, right? So I work with a lot of animals and you have to be able to handle the mice that you're working with to be able to inject it with the vaccine. The mice can tell if I'm afraid. And they're not gonna let me handle them. You literally see them biting onto the cage, preventing you from lifting them. That's a mice. They can scientifically actually smell pheromones. That's the hormones that are in charge of smell. And they will not let you handle them because they know that you too, you're afraid. They can smell danger. So how much more a human being? They'll be able to tell. So this thing happened to me when I just started my PhD. I was a graduate student and I was teaching, and I was just new from Nigeria. This is biology 101. I haven't done biology 101 in how many years, and I'm teaching this fresh brand new undergrad. I'm Nigerian, I have an accent. So there was a little part of me that was timid. And there was this student that was being very unruly in class, very, very unruly, and I had to tell him to leave. And he flat out told me no, he wasn't going to leave. And here's a big guy with dreadlocks, and I'm like, I had to learn the hard way to own my voice, to teach the students how to treat me. You have to respect me. I eventually had to call the police to kick him out. And as they were kicking him out, he was saying, I'm going to report you to the DN. I'm like, go ahead. So I had to learn the hard way to be able to stand my ground. You see, you have to argue with that little part of you all the time and tell yourself, I'm a woman in STEM. I believe in myself. I'm here on merit. Nobody put me here. I'm intelligent. I can do it. I'm as good as any man. So that's just by the way with women and men in STEM. So to answer your real question about PhD, a lot of people, when they hear PhD, they're like, FE way or FE co, how those Nigerian slangs, and I'm like, you guys, and that was my idea as well, and it was my brother that educated me that PhD is not all about reading. I can tell you that throughout my 5 years in my PhD program, I only took 4 to 5 classes total. The rest of it, I was doing research, I was studying things, I was becoming an expert in a field. So the thing with PhD is you can be so many things. PhD means doctor of philosophy, philosophy knowledge. So you can acquire knowledge, you can tease out knowledge, you are great at troubleshooting. So you can do so many things. Aside from academia, you can be a research scientist. Right now, I'm a research scientist for a public health research institute where I study vaccines. So you can be a research scientist in biotech companies, in big pharmaceutical companies, or even in academic institutions. You can also go into science policy. So if you see the people that are making decisions, that the scientists, so science policy people at the go between the research scientists in the wet lab and the people in politics. So the people that are talking to the president about what needs to be done, they're the ones that know that perhaps antibiotic resistance is a problem, and they're the ones telling the president that, hey, we need to fund people doing research on antibiotic resistance, or hey, COVID is a problem, people need ventilation, we need to allocate this amount of money so that patients can get better. So you can do science policy, you can do science communication. So if you're great at writing your science, if you're great at teaching your science, if you're great at writing your science, scientific journals want you because they know that you can think analytically. They want people, they know you can smell the science. They know you can smell if it is fake. You can tell if it is fraudulent. You can be able to say, hey, no, this is bad research. Hey, no, you need more controls to be able to make this a theory and things like that. You can also do management consulting with your PhD. A lot of people think that PhD is all about, if you want to go into management consulting, you have to be an MBA. Absolutely not. You have the ability to critically think and troubleshoot, which is what these people that in management consulting are looking for, is your ability to do those things. And the fact is that right now STEM PhDs are on the rise for hiring in management consulting. So please, don't do PhD if that's what you want to do. It's not all about academia. That's just my thing.
Thank you very much, Yetunde. I mean, I love what you said about stand your ground. Sometimes you just need to have that confidence internally, don't you? And it's not always easy, but you just, if you're a woman or a minority in any situation, sometimes you just need to say, look, I know why I'm here. I'm here for a reason. Like you said, nobody puts me here, So please, I think for everyone really, not even for the young girls, because I think imposter syndrome is something we all deal with from time to time. Just remember, remember the daughter of who you are and take that confidence with you into whatever meetings and discussions that you're having, Mobola, I would love to hear from you as well, because I know you especially on the minority aspect, you're a Black woman in the US, you're a doctor. What has that been like? Have you also had any of those issues? Sorry, before I just saw another comment. Before I let you answer, I'll also say I did study engineering, but I'm a management consultant. So to Yetunde's point, yes, you can do other things from engineering. You can decide to stay in core engineering, or you can take those problem solving skills. I don't have a PhD, but I do have a master's, so I hope that counts. Mobola, over to you.
Well, after Yetunde talk, I want to go get my own PhD, because all these things, I was like, wow, I should have heard this before I went to medical school. No, but no, thank you both, Kemi and Yetunde. I think you've hit really good points. And these are things that I face too as well. With being, like you asked, Mernike, a Black woman physician, I think you're like a unicorn, right? There's 2% of the American population of physicians that are Black women. And whether you like it or not, first of all, the fact that you're a woman, there are people who are used to seeing their doctor in their head, a white old man with gray hair is a doctor. So who are you that looks like you might be the cleaning lady? And that's a problem, right? I'll walk into the patient's room and people will be like, oh yes, my tray is here, you can take it. And I'm like, do you know me? Like, I don't understand. Like, what are you saying? And these are like unconscious biases, right? People don't even think before they say those things, because in their head, they've seen women, in service roles. Or if you're a woman, you must be a nurse. Like I'll say, hey, I'm Dr. XYZ, and they'll be like, oh, the nurse just talked to me. I'm like, which nurse? And there's nothing wrong with nursing. nothing, absolutely not. But then when you are trying to establish your own authority, and then people somehow find a way to, say, well, you must not be this thing because you don't look like this thing, then it really is your skills. I think that's kind of how I've established myself. Women are better doctors than men. I'm sorry, I have to tell you. There are studies that show that, right? Because we care about our patients in a way that they just seem not to be able to, right? We take better care of our patients. Our patients have better outcomes. So I know that. And I know that I have good skills. I mean, I know I'm a pretty good surgeon. So standing on that foundation, it gives me the confidence to, do things on a daily basis. People will resist you in ways that are passive aggressive, maybe the way that they talk to you or the way that they refer to you. But you have to have thick skin, right? Because, people are going to say whatever. And I'm sure that in any career, if you were in accounting, if you were a businesswoman, if you were an entrepreneur, if you were an artist, you always face resistance, and it's par for the course. It's the higher you go, the harder it is, right? And you have to have thick skin. You have to know that you bring the goods and you deliver. So I know that I deliver. So it's fine. I go, I do what I need to do. I make sure that I do things excellently, because you never want the quality of your work to be, she did that, but that person can do it better. Because that's what they say, right? They'll be like, oh, well, yeah, she's a good doctor, but go to Dr. XYZ boy. No, this is the best that you're going to get. So standing on that foundation, I think it's kind of helped me weather the gender bias that comes my way. And one thing before I go, sorry, I don't want to take too much of the time, but you'll be surprised actually that there are men physicians who end up being mentors and sponsors for you. So not everyone's biased, right? And a lot of why I am where I am is because of the sponsors and the mentors that I've had. And some of them are men. They see you, and just like Dr. Onyia said, they see leadership potential in you, they see resilience in you, they see skill in you, and they're willing to bat for you. So, don't be so jaded by the gender bias that you don't see that actually there are people who are of the other gender who also want to help you as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's so important. Thank you very much, Mobola. I think we can't do anything alone. So I think the ideal is for everyone to be recognized and everyone to be represented, not for women to take over the world, as much as some of us on this call might like that. I'm being informed that we're running desperately out of time, but I do want to take a couple of questions from the audience. And I can see there's a lot of activity there. Oh my God, superwoman, female surgeon. This is too good to be true. So, I mean, and I see people are also answering each other's questions. So you can keep doing that in the chat. If you see a question you think you can answer, and you're a participant of this conference, please respond. But I'll also ask a couple of the questions to our panelists. And I have one here, which I guess would be for Kemi and Mobola. And it says, was studying medicine hard, or should we say difficult, in university? And this is from a girl in Government Senior College, Ikoyi. And either of you can take it.
Okay, I'll go. I think Kim is muted. Yeah, it was hard. Just like anything that you want to do that's worthwhile is going to be hard. I mentioned a little bit earlier that I liked biology and chemistry, but physics and math are not, it sounds like a sacrilege. I'm saying this in a STEM forum, right? But, they're just not my strongest points. But you know what? I know my weaknesses and I know what my limitations are. And because I know that, then I found people in my class who were good at calculus and they were good at physics, and I would study with them. And it really helped, that you can't know everything and you can't do everything. But what I needed at least, was the determination that I have to pass this class and I have to get an A. So by any means necessary, I'm gonna get an A. And if that means, waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do the homework, or getting people who know, or paying a tutor to teach you, then I did that because I needed to achieve those results. So it was hard, just like anything else, having a baby is hard, but you have to do it when you're pregnant.
Yeah. Kemi, you can go ahead.
Okay, so if you're going to study medicine, medicine, I always tell people that medicine is a very jealous cause. it doesn't want you doing any other thing. It wants you just for itself. And so it would mean that you're having laser focus, you're studying and studying and studying. And, like Mobola said, there will be courses that, may not really be your strong point, or it won't be an area that you're very comfortable with, but you would still have to pass it because you need to just, be very well-rounded before you now specialize in a particular course. So it's really important that you study. I think there's no other way to explain how there's no road, that is worth climbing that may be as smooth as you would wish that you just wake up and yes, you're there, but you would really have to study. It will take a lot of studying. There is no other way to go about it. You just have to study, years of studying, sacrifice, and then you would eventually get there.
Yeah. So I think the summary is that yes, it is hard, but it can be done, and commit yourself to it. I have a question here, and Yetunde, this one is directed at you. Actually, I'm going to just combine two questions. So the first one is, what is your advice to a PhD microbiology student from your own personal experience? And that was from Olaoluwa Oluwe. And then the second question is, you studied microbiology in university, and now Nigeria doesn't really have the facilities or the equipment for that course. So how is it possible for someone in Nigeria to study further? And that's from another girl in Government Senior College.
Okay, so I think the first question was, can you it's floating in my brain, but I can't really put my
Yeah, so the first question is, what's your advice to a PhD microbiology student from your own personal experience?
Okay, so my advice for a microbiology PhD student is mentorship. I am a product. I told you that, the reason I'm even here in the first place is mentorship. When I eventually got into my PhD program, it was like my advisor held me and was like, succeed, succeed, succeed. So I am a product of mentorship, and you've got to, the difference between you or where you are now and someone who looks like they're doing maybe slightly better than you are is knowledge. They know something that you don't know. So mentorship is not all about you sucking up to somebody. It's about them teaching you, showing you the ropes of how to do something very, very easily. So for instance, mentorship from my brother, because I had mentorship at the right time, meant that I didn't have any gap years. So I didn't leave university wondering what I was going to do, figuring out where to apply to, where not to apply to. There was direction for where I needed to go. That's what mentorship does to you. Similarly, and when I eventually got into my PhD program, right, while I was graduating, I had to start looking for a job. So what I did for my PhD basically answers esoteric questions. So an esoteric question is basically a question that only few specialized people can understand. So if I'm talking about ribosomes and I'm giving you deep stuff about antibiotic resistance, not everybody can understand that. So you have to determine as a PhD microbiologist what you want to do. Where do you want to work? I did a PhD because I thought that I wanted to teach. But after I finished, during the course of my program, I realized that maybe not, maybe I don't want to teach, right? But I had already found myself in a program that was all about answering esoteric questions, figuring out the mechanism of action of drugs against a bacterial pathogen. And because I was focused on that, that's not what the industry wants. Now I'm like, no, I changed my mind. I don't want to teach. I want to go to industry. But I have been trained for 5 years on answering esoteric questions that industry doesn't care about. They want people that can do applied science, that their research is basically getting applied to market. So they want people that can do drug designs. So know what you want to do. Do you want to teach? Do you not want to teach? That should inform you on what type of programs that you should start pursuing. And I know that now. You can only know that because I have been through that. That's what mentorship does for you, is you link yourself to somebody. Scientists are always happy to help. STEM people are always happy to help. Link yourself to them, email them, they will answer. Don't be afraid. I've been looking at it in the chat. Oh, I'm afraid to talk to people. Talk to people. If you don't talk, you will never know. So talk to people. Don't be afraid. That's just what I would say. That's what I would advise anybody that wants to be a PhD in microbiology. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. You did. Thank you very much. And you touched on the points on mentorship and all of that as well. And, similar to you, I'm seeing conversations in the chat. And I think the thing is, just talk to them, email them, connect with them. We have the immense privilege of having Dr. Ngozi Onyia back with us to take a couple of questions as well. So Dr. Onyia, welcome back. And thank you very much for coming back and for joining us. I think I will target the question on mentorship and almost inspiration to you, because throughout your presentation, you talked about a few different people who over your journey have either mentored you or inspired you. What would you say to the younger people who are watching today on how they should get a mentor, how they should get a sponsor, where to seek inspiration from?
I think there are several places where you will seek inspiration, or you will find inspiration even without seeking. For example, I talked about my school principal. She was a role model. I'm sure she was aware that 700 or 800 young girls were looking at her, and most of us today pride ourselves on how much like Koki we are. Your parents will often be your mentor, or your older siblings, even neighbors, then seniors in secondary school. But I do know that quite a few women organizations now have formal mentoring programs. So for example, I'm a mentor for WIMBIS, for those of you who are old enough to be members of WIMBIS, and the WIM board actually, I'm mentoring young people who want to sit on boards. And then there's also WISCA. WISCA also has a formal mentoring program. So there are formal mentors, but then there'll be many informal mentors in church, just in your social networks, wherever, your parent, friend who you admire. And your mentors don't have to all be women, and they don't even have to all be women in STEM. You could also have a male mentor, you could have a female mentor who's a lawyer. So mentoring is not necessarily about career, but about the profession, but somebody who can guide you in your path along the way. Okay. And like all of you said earlier, don't be scared to the most they will say is no. But I don't think anybody will be grouchy enough to say no, I wouldn't mentor a young person. And women by nature are very collaborative. We don't compete. Generally, we collaborate. Women, we are sisters, we pull each other together. So I think any woman will be flattered if a young person approaches her and says, I want you to mentor me. And they will do it if they think they can. Of course, there's a lot of reverse mentoring. From the people I mentor, I'm learning so much because they are young and they know things I don't know. So I'm also growing just by mentoring people.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Onyia. And I love that the thing of reverse mentoring as well. I think learning is a lifelong process. And so it's something that we're always doing. Yetunde, I saw you had your hand up, but I just have, apparently we need to wrap this up. I'm getting, so let me ask just one final question, and if I could get one line from each of you, and then Yetunde, you can make your comments. How do you deal with the pressure of having to do your best or be seemingly perfect so that you don't close the door to people like you? This is another question from the audience. So how do you cope with the pressure of having to do your best or seem perfect? And maybe we can use this to wrap this up. So if I can, top left of my screen is Dr. Mobola Oyefule. So if you could start, please.
I think that there is pressure to be the best, but a lot of that pressure I think should be inwardly driven. You want to do your best because you are somebody that values excellence, and you're somebody that wants to get things right. So I think that the internal pressure should probably be a little bit more than the external pressure, because then it makes sense. You know why you're doing things. So people want you to look a certain way, but then also remember that we're all figuring it out as we go. Even the people who aren't women or the people who aren't minorities, they're figuring it out as they go. And so, they have that concern too of, oh, well, I need to do, things right so that I don't close the door to people behind me. There's pressure. Everyone has pressure, but I kind of, I guess, try to let that pressure be inward, because you want to do a good job, not because somebody else wants you to be perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. And Yetunde, if you could please go next and you can say your comments as well.
So for me, like let me say what I wanted to say. I remember that there was a question about, how do you build your microbiology if Nigeria doesn't support you? What really helped me was I saw myself beyond Nigeria, and this isn't about traveling abroad. I had invested so much in studying in school. I wasn't willing to let it go, and I was willing to do whatever it took me to get the best training, to be the best that I could potentially become. So I would say, don't let your community limit how far you can go as a woman in STEM. That's just what I want to say. And with the pressure thing, pressure will come. People that I remember that when I graduated with my PhD, I posted on social media or something about women, you can do what you want to do. Personally, when I was in high school, I wasn't the most brilliant student. I wasn't acing all my courses, but here I am, I have a PhD degree. And then someone said to me that, now I have a PhD, I've become a motivational speaker overnight. And I'm like, what is that even all about? So people will always talk, but don't let that, like Mobola said, let your within be the thing that is speaking out for you, and let it, push you to be the best that you can be. You're not killing anybody's shine by trying to be yourself or being the best version of yourself. That's just what I'll have to say.
Thank you, Yetunde. And yeah, go ahead, Kemi.
So I'll just say that for me, perfection is not a destination, it's a journey. So every day, the me that you see now in 2021 is definitely not the me that was here in 2019. I'm a great improvement on who I was 2 years ago. So, and then on pressure, I would just say focus on your own journey. So perfection is not a destination, it's a journey. But remember that that journey is yours. It's yours to own and yours to go on. So do not, the problem we have, as people, as women, as scientists and as human beings, that we keep looking to the next person. What's the next person doing? Or what's this person doing? What's that person doing? Mobola is a surgeon. I'm not a surgeon. I don't like to stand in the theater, but I have my own journey and I'm making my own impact where I have been called to. Dr. Onyia said something very important. Make sure that you have a sense of purpose, that your life is purposeful, that you're not just existing. I think that when you do that, by being the very best version of yourself, you just unconsciously allow other people to look up to you and just want to be better. So that's just all I'm going to say, that just know that it's not a destination. A lot of people say, oh, let me just finish this YA and that's it. Oh, let me finish uni. I will kill everybody. They will know I've arrived. No, it's a journey. As long as you have breath in your nostrils, just keep pushing, just keep going forward, just keep developing yourself.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Kemi. And Dr. Onyia, if we can end with you and your words on.
Nothing to add. They've said it all. It's your journey, it's not anyone else. It's your race, yes. Run your race, don't run any other person's race. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very, very much to all of you. This has been an amazing and insightful discussion. I personally have learned so much, and if the chat is anything to go by, I think we've really sparked a lot of thoughts in people's minds this afternoon. I would encourage everyone here to keep the conversation going, continue to learn about what it is to be a woman in science, continue to, get knowledge, like empower yourself. We can all do this. I hope you're half as inspired as me. It's been my honor and my privilege to be the moderator of this conversation today. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Morenike. Thank you all. This has been so inspiring. Like, I've just been so engaged in the chat box. Okay, I see Morenike is taking up the spotlight. Amazing. Like, we don't even mind the fact that we went over time because everyone didn't want it to end. It's like, oh, let's just keep going. So this was exciting. So I just wanted to shout out a few people and a few schools. I see we have a number of students that are actually joining us from their school. And we're so thankful to them, to their teachers, to the volunteers that have made this possible with like all of the COVID requirements with their masks on. I'm just trying to share my screen so you can see a few pictures from the school. I also see the girls from the senior secondary school, Ikoyi. You girls are so engaged. I saw you put your camera on at a point, but it's off now. But we're really impressed that this can be inspiring to you. You had so many great questions. Also shouting out to the Ilupeju Junior and Senior Secondary Grammar School, because they are also on as well. So these pictures, okay, 1 second. Okay, so I don't know if everyone can see my screen. We have a few pictures from the school where the kids are just participating and like actively listening to what's going on. I also want to shout out, distinguished guests that are on the call. Like we have so many guests that are, members of our board that are on as well, and just engaging in the comments and just sharing inspiring messages. We see you, Dr. Mobola Johnson. Thank you for joining us. We have so many other, I can't call everyone's names, but as I look through, I see Yeti's on the call as well. Mrs. Yeti Williams of Vegas Mom, she's one of our board members. I also see Ms. Telma Osuho is on the call as well. So I'll just, during the breaks, I'll keep shouting out the names that I can catch, but like there's so many of us on and we're really excited to have you here today. So for our next segment, I will be introducing Jessica Uwoghiren, who's going to take us through an experiential learning exercise. So one of the things we wanted to do was not only share with you about our different speakers' career paths and the decisions that they've made and that have led them up to where they are today. We also wanted to give you an opportunity to learn, to go through a learning journey. And today, in the theme of bringing scientists, scientists are in different shapes and forms, in the world of medicine, microbiology, and also data as well. So we're welcoming Jessica Uwoghiren, who's a data scientist, and she'll be walking us through a showcase project. I'm not going to tell too much about it because she has an amazing presentation prepared to walk everyone through this journey. So Jessica, over to you. I can see the slide is up. I just want to see if Jessica is able to unmute herself.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Awesome. Thanks, okay. Jessica.
Nice. Just give me a minute, please. I need disturbance. Okay. So yeah, it's so good to be here with everyone today. Like Yvonne said, my name is Jessica. I've listened to all the amazing women speak before me, and I can say I've learned so much in a short period, really. I was just looking at the chat, and when Adeola said she's motivated to do a PhD as well. And honestly, when Yetunde was speaking, I was saying, oh, I should probably do a PhD in data science at some point. So really, it's really amazing. I love the engagement as well. I also want to thank the IHS Stars team and the Afro-Tech Girls team for putting this together. It's really not easy putting something like this together, especially when it's online. But today I'll be speaking on something I've titled Telling Your Data Story, a guide to a successful data science project. So I have about 15 minutes, and then there'll be some time left for Q&A. So if you have questions as we go along, please feel free to type them up in the chat. We'll have people moderating, and I would also like to say this: please put your mics on mute, please, as we go along. And another thing, I also love interactive sessions. So I'll be asking questions as we go along. So you can type them up in the chat, or you can use the other method I would say as we go along. So yeah, a little bit about me. I feel very underqualified when I've heard a lot of doctors speak, right? But really, I'm a data scientist and machine learning enthusiast. Like Yvonne said, I'm Nigerian by birth. I now live in a city called Toronto in Canada. And I got into data science and analytics full-time in 2020. That's just a year ago. And this was after I worked about 4 years in the engineering space. I worked as a process engineer for several companies, General Electric, Septa Petroleum, and a few other companies. Yeah, I kind of tend to move around a lot. So a lot of people have asked me this: why did I switch from engineering to data science? Because it was something more like a 360 turn. And the answer I always give is, growing up, I was someone that loved working with numbers. I heard Mobola saying, oh, like she found a niche in biology and chemistry in school. For me, it was math. I love math and chemistry. So I'd gone to study chemical engineering in school, and then I did a master's in petroleum engineering and project development, simply because I wanted to get into oil and gas. because oil and gas was the in thing then, like we had the Shells, the Mobiles, the Total. So I really wanted to get into that space. So all my focus leaving university was to get into that space. And I did actually leaving my master's program, got my first job. And I went on, I'd worked a while. And then later I realized that some of the things I usually do in my job, right? I would build dashboards, I would do reporting, draw graphs. These are things people are doing as full-time careers. You have data analysts nowadays that's just their job, analyze things. And I said, oh, why not just take it as a full-time job? I said, maybe in quotes, stalking people. I'll check people's LinkedIn profiles that I kind of admired in that space. And I'll look at the courses they did, try to see what their paths were. Some did masters. I didn't want to go to a second master's. So I basically started learning with online courses. And this all started during the pandemic last year. And it's been a really, really amazing one for me. I can say that I've been on steroids ever since. My siblings, my friends can testify to that. Anytime you talk to me on the phone, I'm mentioning data, and you probably get tired. So basically, that's what it's been for me. Now I do a lot of consulting for people. Yeah, just over 1 year, right? I also write regularly on a publication called Towards Data Science. It's one of the largest medium publications out there. And then my dream goal, like I've said on the slide, is to get into Google. Google because I want to be at the forefront of tech innovations. And in my free time, I love to watch football a lot. I'm a Real Madrid fan. I also read a lot of books, and I love to binge watch TV series. My favorite so far is Grey's Anatomy. Yeah, but I'm not a doctor, but I love that series. Yeah, so just moving on to what we're looking at today, I'll talk briefly about data and where you can get data from. I'll also talk about what you can do with data in your day-to-day life. And then we'll look at a case study of a project I worked on in December 2020, fairly recently, and then we'll discuss the project outcome, and then I'll leave some time for us to do Q&A. Okay, so this is going to be our first teaser, right? So I just want us to say in the chat for me, please, in one word, what does data mean to you? So when you hear the word data, what comes to your mind first? Just one word. So if you can type in the chat for me, just so I know you can see that, or you can use the annotate feature. Yes, I love. So I'm trying to do that as well on my screen. So in my head, I put numbers, right? So you can use the annotate feature if you're using a computer right on my screen. I don't mind. So just let me know what data means to you. So I'm seeing a lot of things in the chat. Data means information. Data means raw facts. Nice. Numbers again. Okay. Nice. Value. Oh, that's lovely, Karika. Another person says Joy Teramba says it means facts. Chinenia Ibiam says it means numbers. Let me see. Oh, okay. So I need to enable annotation. So you can use the annotation feature now if you feel like writing on my screen. It's on now for people that want to use that. If you're using a laptop, a computer, you can do that. It says unprocessed information. Okay, I love that. Yeah. So Tola Shasanya says it means information. Okay, great. So I'll just clear. So I think Tosin is trying to write something on my screen. Okay, Francis says information. Okay. Okay, so one type a big N. Okay. So yeah, for me, it's I see someone that joined with my link. That's not me typing actually. Okay, so that's great. Okay, so we'll just move on quickly, right? Thank you so much for that. Really, everyone is correct. Someone says a collection of information. That's nice. So basically, data for me, it's everything we've said. It's everything we've said. But it's a lot more than that. And the moment we try to see the big picture, it makes more sense. For me, I didn't realize this, right? When I started, you can see me adjusting. I'm getting into gear. Okay, so it's everything we've mentioned. One thing I would say is data is not just numbers. A lot of people, I had that notion before that it was just numbers. The words I speak to you this instant can be data. This meeting is being recorded. It serves as data. The images you see regularly, your pictures, that's data. Anything that describes something is data actually. We use data every day, we might not just realize it. And then when it comes to data science, when I hear the word science, what comes to my mind is science is a systematic process. a lot of us do chemistry in school, chemistry practicals. I remember then when we used to do this acid and base thing where you have to titrate and then it has to turn pink, right? There's a whole list of steps we have to follow to make sure you take the right, maybe the base in the pipette. I can't remember now, forgive me. You put the base in the pipette and you have to follow the steps to titrate, and then you watch till it turns pink, use your litmus test and all that. That's science. So when you combine the words, it's basically just you following different steps to achieve something in your data. So basically, for data science, it's you simply gathering your data, cleaning it, analyzing it so that you can draw insights from it, and interpreting it so that people that probably were not following you through that process can see what you mean by what you've done. And then it goes a step further when you now talk of building models. Now, models are simply representative of the data. And then we use those models to predict things in the future. One thing I love, a lot of us use Google here, right? You go into Google, you want to type something, you're just typing the first 2 words. And before you know it, Google is trying to complete that sentence for you. And you're like, for me, I'm like, is this sorcery? Like, what's happening? Is this witchcraft? Can they read my mind? But that's really data science as well. They're using things that people have asked in the past to predict for you. And it's amazing when we think of it. In medicine, data is applicable, data science there are a lot of people doing bioinformatics now, a lot of things. So I just want us to have this big picture as we go along in this presentation. Yeah, so for me, I said I love numbers, right? So when I tried to prepare this presentation, I wanted to see how much data do we have in the world. I've gone to a website called statista.com, and on there, I saw that as of December 2020, that's just maybe 2 months ago, we had about 59 zettabytes of data in the world. Now, 59 might not seem like a big number, right? It's 59, but when you talk of zettabytes, it's actually a lot. The highest I knew was maybe terabytes, right? But apparently there are a lot of other bytes after that. And then if you try to picture it in terms of things we use every day, it's equivalent to about 200 trillion MP3 songs of 5-minute length. So think of having 200 trillion songs on your phone, which is basically impossible. That's how much data we have in the world. It's also equivalent to about 59 trillion videos of 4K quality. Now, 4K is the highest quality. So if you're used to YouTube, you see like 360p, 720, 1080, and then you have the 4K. There are special TVs for that. I have a friend that had to buy a 4K TV because he was crazy about 4K videos. And then if you look at it in terms of laptops we have, it's about 59 billion laptops. Now, in the world, for instance, we're about 7-8 billion, right? That means it's equivalent to about 9 times the world population. And I'm like, you have all this data. And then sometimes I get this a lot when people want to do a data science project and they say, oh, I don't know where to get data from. The answer I usually give is, you're probably not looking at enough because there's data everywhere. Another thing is also if the data is maybe confidential, you might have to approach the company for it, things like that. But in terms of public data, there's a lot of data out there. We just need to know how to source for them. So I'll move on to the next slide. So what do we use data for? I've said data a lot. I like to tell stories. Let's say, for instance, Yvonne introduced me, right? Yvonne wants to get a dress. The first thing she has to do is to check her financial data. She goes into her bank account, for instance, and she says, oh, she wants to check how much does she have. Is she able to afford this dress? Let's say she has 100K in the account and the dress is 10K. Okay, she can say, okay, she wants to buy that dress. And then she goes to the website. They ask her, oh, Yvonne, what's your size? Or she says she's a size 8 or a size 10. She gives them that data to the website. As she's checking out, they ask her for home address. That's data she's also giving them. She has to put her credit card details. That's data you're giving them. And then the company or the website stores it in a database. And basically, when you come next to the website, you don't necessarily have to put that information in again. So if you start thinking of data in this form, sometimes you now wonder, should I be putting so much information out there, or how best can you harness this data? So in terms of other things we use data for, we can use it to make business decisions. You want to expand to a new region, you need market insights, things like that. You need to solve problems. Now there are COVID-19 apps, for instance, that can tell you if you've been exposed to the virus based on maybe where you've been, your location. I think we have that in Canada actually. they can ask you, oh, are you experiencing these symptoms? And based on that, they can tell you, oh, you need to go get tested. You can use data to predict stock prices. There's been a lot of craze about stocks recently. So it's amazing what we can do with it. Next, to share insights. I saw someone wrote in the chat, I love the idea of getting fun insights from regular data. I love that too, Umar. And then marketing strategy, and then identification. So we all have international passports. Some of us have the NIN. So that's data the government is collecting about you. So next time when you want to identify yourself, they can use that to identify you. So like I said before, we need to realize how much data we have in our lives. A lot of things we do are centered around that. And the moment we begin to think about it, we can now harness the power that it has. So let's move on quickly. So where can I get this data from? You can get it from online sources. Google is my go-to resource. Kaggle for those into data science. You can use specific websites, Glassdoor, Amazon. Amazon has a lot of reviews on different products. And then you can also use government portals to get this data, surveys, social media as well, Twitter, Instagram. So I do a lot of analysis around social media. So Twitter is one I use a lot because it has a lot of words and text. I also mentioned NCDC. So someone can say they want to do a project on COVID-19, for example. NCDC publishes statistics on people that have died, people that are infected with COVID daily. You can go to the website and get that data from there. Yeah, so quickly, I'll move on to the project I'll be talking about today. It was titled Analyzing Twitter Users' Reflections on the year 2020 using NLP. Now, this sounds like a lot of jargon, right? It sounded like that to me maybe over a year ago. But I'll break it down for us. So it was simply, I just simply wanted to know how people felt about the year 2020 in general. The reason for that was 2020 was a peculiar year for us. There were a lot of things that happened with the US presidency saga. We had Australian bushfires. We had the Black Lives Matter protests. We had COVID-19. We had NSAS protests in October back in Nigeria. A lot of things, lockdown. So I wanted to really know how people felt. So, and usually the end of the year, December, is usually a period where people try to reflect, oh, my year went this way, my year was this, 2020 was this. So I'd use specific keywords, like 2020 was A, 2020 has been, to try to get those, get tweets that had those phrases from Twitter. We'll look at how I did that shortly. And then just a little bit of stats again. That project had over 1,000 positive reactions across like all my social media platforms because I used a lot of that for my project. And why did I use Twitter? Twitter has over 500 million tweets a day. Yeah, I see you, Yvonne. And then in terms of programming language, so I like to code a lot. So one thing I started learning was learning how to use Python for coding. So use Python not just for data science, you can use it also for the back end when you're building websites as well. And then in terms of technique I used for this project, it was something called natural language processing. So natural language processing is what NLP stands for, and it's simply just you analyzing text. So I can try to analyze the words I'm speaking now. That's natural language processing, and it's a subset of machine learning when it comes to data science. So what was I trying to find out? I wanted to see what words people used to describe the year, what time of the day people were actually tweeting. Were these tweets positive? Were they negative? What country had the most tweets? So we'll see all of that. So for me, again, so just before we go on, right? I just want to know, how was 2020 for you guys? Was it a good year? Was it a bad year? You can use the annotate feature. Let me try and enable it. Is enabled. You can also type in the chat. So how was it for you? Did you like 2020? Was it great? Was it not? Was it a boring year? Let's just know in the chat just before we go ahead. Then you can also type on my screen. Open to you typing on my screen as well. Okay, Eunice says 2020 was interesting for her. Okay, love that. Esther says she's grateful to be alive. Mobola says it was a roller coaster. Nice. I think I saw that a lot actually. Yeah. So it was a lot of things for a lot of people, right? And that was something I wanted to draw out. What were people thinking? And Twitter was simply the best place for me to do that from. So I'll just walk you through the process quickly. First, for any data science project, you have to know what your end goal is. What are you trying to get at? What problem are you trying to solve? It doesn't just apply to what I did, but anything at all you're trying to do. It could be you're trying to find out how many people got COVID in a region, right? You want to try to map that out and do a data science project on that. You just need to know what your end goal is. That would determine what happens next in the different steps. So like I said, I was trying to find out all of these things. How do people feel? Where were they tweeting from? Things like that. And then next step here is what I call data gathering. So yeah, I still see people say, oh, it was a good year for them. That's good. So yeah, so it was, we said the next thing here, another question you need to ask yourself here is basically, where's my data? Can I get data from multiple sources? So some projects I have to get data from different places. It's not just one source. So for this particular project, I use Twitter. I try to use the right search words, and I use something called an API. If I have time, I will explain that at the end. Then next up, I did something called data cleaning. So yeah, thanks, Yvonne. So data cleaning basically is you trying to see if your data is ready for analysis. Yeah, a lot of times we have missing values in data. It's not complete, or you don't have the data in the right format. And this is a step that is really important when it comes to any data science project. You have to ensure that your data is ready for analysis, because if you miss this step, then you get a lot of errors. And because I was working with text, things like punctuations, very common words like is, are, like verbs that don't have any meaning from analysis, I had to remove them. So all this I did with coding. It's not something really far-fetched. It's something you can learn. I learned this in less than 2-3 months. A lot of people are surprised when I say that, but yeah, I did. And then next up, we got something called data mining and exploration. What does my data look like? This is basically trying to answer if there are patterns in your data. So for this, right, this image you see on the right was an image I created in Python just to visualize what people really felt. So for most people that made those tweets on Twitter, some of the words that really stood out were good, great, bad, hard, tough, last, grateful. And I think if you look somewhere in there, you'd see things around COVID as well. So it was just a way for me to see, like, have a big picture of what people felt. And you can do this with coding. So I did this with Python using something called the word cloud package. And next thing is machine learning. Machine learning sounds like a fancy word, but it's really not. It's basically you trying to train a computer. So I have a ball here. I use a stress ball. You tell a computer anything that is round is a ball. So subsequently, when the computer sees anything that is round, it classifies it as a ball. That's basically machine learning. So for this, I tried to use machine learning algorithms to see what tweets were positive or negative. That's what the illustration is. So you see a positive tweet and it gives you a positive sentiment. This is just high level. I'll share the article at the end of this. And then next is model deployment. So I did this for 50,000 tweets. Can I do this for 1 million tweets, for instance? So that's why you now talk of scaling in machine learning operations. So you can also decide, again, I want to say this, if you want to do this for any project. So you can decide, I want to see what people feel about Apple phones, for instance, or how people feel about Samsung products, how people feel about COVID, how people feel about my hospital. It's something you can do with data. So that's really it. So this is the last step for any data science project. What were the results I got? So first, I found that about 50% of the tweets had positive sentiments. United States had the most tweets on Twitter. And then 5 p.m. was the time people were tweeting more. So why is this actually important? If you're a marketing person, for instance, you want to know what time you would tweet so that you get more engagement. So that's basically what this basically tells us. And in terms of presenting results, you see a dashboard changing here. So this was also something I created as part of this project. So I use something called Tableau for this. You can use Tableau for a lot of things. People use it for marketing, KPIs, to see company performance, things like that. So a lot of things you can do with data science, and it's really amazing when you decide to go into it. And it's not just restricted to tech. You can use it in any industry. I also use other mediums to publish my work. Social media, I'm active on the blog posts, LinkedIn, or if it's internal, if it's a confidential information, I send emails like some of the clients I work with. And then I can also decide to publish on my website. So yeah, that's it from me. Data science is really it's an iterative process. It's not something that you start and you stop. So sometimes I go over and over again to look at the models I've made to see if I can improve on them. So you don't just stop at what you've done and say that's perfect. There are always ways to improve on it. And so anyone looking to get into this field, I want to advertise like Yetunde did for a PhD. Please, it's a really interesting one, right? I switched from engineering to data science, and I tweeted when I said I was going to do this full time that I found my purpose. And every time I talk about it, like I feel this fire reignites in me. And there's really nothing like finding something you love doing and having a career out of it. It's bliss, to be honest. And so for anyone striving for any career path in STEM, don't say because people are going to study engineering, I want to follow the bandwagon. You can decide to do it, but ensure that you have that path. Find what you love doing and stick to it. For me, the mantra I always have is anything worth doing is worth doing well, whatever it is at all. It should apply to every aspect of your life. So I want to be one of the best data scientists. When they say, oh, this is top 10 data scientists in the world, I want to strive to be that. And for that, I keep pushing myself, learning more things, and we go ahead. So yeah, sorry, I talk a lot. Yeah, so lastly, if you want to read more about the project, I'll put this link in the chat. I have other projects as well. You can go to my website, just-analytics.com. Connect with me on social media, everywhere, except Snapchat, actually. Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I get a lot of DMs daily. So I can respond to your DMs if you have questions, because I see a lot of questions coming up in the chat. I won't be able to answer all of them. But you can connect with me. I do my best to answer, but it might take a while, but I'll definitely answer. So yeah, thanks again for this. So yeah, I'll stop here for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Like, I'm just looking at all the questions coming. I'm like, I want to know the answers to these questions, but unfortunately, we don't have enough time. So we're definitely bringing you back. That one is no doubt. Like, I think even just so that people can ask their questions, I'm seeing people say, oh, I want to get into data science. What would be the best way to go? Python, self-learning, books. Someone's comment here, and this is one of the things I love about how you present about data is the fact that you just explain data. So Christina said you just explain data science in the easiest way she's ever heard of, and that's one of the things that I love. You make it so relatable as opposed to making it sound like one concept that's so far away. So thank you so much for doing that. Next up, we are going to be going into a session by Gloria Okereke, who's the team lead, is the team lead service desk at IHS Towers, and she's going to be sharing with us about IHS Women in STEM, because we've talked about IHS Towers as an organization that promotes women in STEM internally and externally, and we'd just like to hear from her some of the things that they're doing internally as an organization. For the next 5 minutes. One more thing I'd like to add before Gloria takes the stage is we're going to have a raffle draw right after Gloria's session, because one of the things we wanted to do was just appreciate and celebrate everyone that's on this call. So we will be selecting the winners right here. So it's a very transparent process. And we're looking forward to seeing who wins the lucky prizes, or the lucky winners that win the prizes. And then the second thing is just a reminder to please fill out the form with the data for those joining us from Nigeria for the data reimbursement. Thank you very much. Over to you, Gloria. Oh, 1 second. We can't hear you. Please give me one. Hold on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Perfect.
Okay. Hi, my name is Gloria Okereke. Thank you. I mean, it's a privilege to be here. I don't see myself as having that whatever it is called to be here, but really I appreciate you bringing me up here, and I don't take it for granted. So for the purpose of the young girls we have here, and for me, I know I relate so much with stories. I'm just going to tell them a quick story and see how they relate to it. So I'm going to start with, I used to know, or I still know, a certain girl that her peers, her friends, everybody always just consider her and tease her. I mean, calling her doll, calling her, oh, you don't know anything. I mean, how do you intend to make it from life when, I mean, you don't even know anything? So with that and everything, it affected the girl's self-esteem. It affected her so much that she just went back into her shell. Back into her shell, she could not talk. I mean, when she's even talking to you, she's stuttering. She cannot make a full sentence without stuttering. But one day, I mean, she's been teased, she's been abused, I mean, by her peers and everything. I know people who have just gone back into their shell, refusing to talk to anybody around, even her parents. So one day, she told herself, she said, if every other person around me can be better, and if any person around me, I mean, can do better and they are doing very well, why can't I do better? I mean, she took it upon herself to begin her journey into, I mean, doing better. So she started to read more, she started to learn more, even things that are not just in her class. She just go, picks up the book, read about it because she wants to know. In her time, internet was not so much, it was not so big like this. So of course you have to pick up a book to read. She picked up this book, kept reading all through. Because of the so much abuse and everything, she couldn't get into science class because it was like, if you want to be in science class, then you have to be intelligent. Now, because of the so much insults, abuse, tease, and everything, she just stayed in commercial class thinking, okay, this is just the place for me. However, even though she has been in that commercial class, she intends to do well. She wrote her WAEC and she wrote it once. She didn't do it twice, once, and she passed. She didn't repeat any papers. She passed. So while she was going to do JAMB, of course, the same hurdle came again. Her first JAMB score was 264, but she didn't get into school. But because she has told herself, see, I want to do well, right? I want to do well. I want to make it. I want to see myself in that stand doing well. She wrote the second one. However, she got into school with the fourth JAMB she wrote. That fourth JAMB gave her admission into 2 schools, left to her to now choose. She chose University of Ibadan. She had admission in University of Ibadan and Abia State University. She chose University of Ibadan, then went. She did sociology, nothing in science, nothing in pure science, just social sciences. She did that. While she was out, of course, there was question of what do I intend to do with this? In her mind, it was like, okay, I'll do HR. She served after she finished serving, she went to Unilag, did organizational behavior in Unilag as an MSc, thinking, okay, I just want to get into HR. But however, she kept reading. I mean, she liked sciences and everything. So she kept reading other things in sciences, even though she felt, oh, I have deviated a bit into management. Then at some point, she kept applying to get a job. She got a job somewhere, a typical tech environment. Now she has found herself in the same place she found herself back in secondary school, where everybody's techie. She's not techie. I mean, what is she going to do? I mean, to be up to par. This is an environment that everybody is talking about rectifier module, everybody is talking about backup batteries, everybody is talking about tackle, everybody is talking about masts, then you're like, I mean, she just got lost in the middle. But she told herself, if women are in this organization, I mean, climbing up the ladder, then I mean, she is a woman too. She has to do it. She just has to climb up the ladder. She kept reading in other things in sciences, in tech and everything. Of course, did a little training, did some certifications and all of that. In the first year on her job, she got promoted. That is a girl who is not in tech. Did an interview with so many people who has done sciences and in tech. Did an interview, passed the interview, and got promoted just within the first year in the organization. Now, she went forward. She kept reading, understanding things that, okay, life is not static. That is why Harvard Business School has moved from intelligence quotient. They move from there to emotional quotient and emotional intelligence. They go from there to social quotient. And now what is going on now is adversity quotient. And adversity quotient tells you that you have to be resilient to be in anywhere. Now, nobody thought about that COVID-19 will be anywhere. Nobody thought about it. Nobody even saw it coming. But I want to say, without that adversity quotient, I don't see anybody moving. I don't see anybody, because if you can't change, if you are not dynamic, then you can't just do it. The story of the girl I just told is me, Gloria Okereke. Now, I want to tell young girls that typically just keep working on your adversity quotient, which just talk about your resilience in anything you do. You are in sciences, or you have not been in sciences, but you're just seeing, oh, everybody is into data analysis, and so many people want to just do something in tech, right? Everybody's just doing, so many things in sciences, and you want to do. It doesn't stop you. Your background does not stop you. It just says, read, understand it. For the adversity quotient, I told myself something. I said there's SOSD. I said, see it. When you see it, there is the acknowledgement that, okay, there is a change nearby. I have a change. I'm seeing it. There is a change. Then you go further to own it. Now, when you're owning it, you're taking ownership of the situation. You have seen a situation that there is a change coming. What do? You take ownership for the change. When you take ownership for the change, then you sit yourself down, draft out your own plan. No intimidation, nothing. Why? Because you have your own adversity quotient going on with you. You have your own resilience inside of you going on with you. Then you solve it. You develop your own action plan and begin to say, okay, how do I solve it? By the time you have your action plan ready, then you execute. When you're executing, I'm telling you, the world is not even ready to take you in yet. They will be surprised. They will see you grow. And I will not just say this. While I was in that tech environment in IHS, I had women, who mentored me. One of them is Funmi Awelewa, she's here, who mentored me. While we had our conversations, she would always tell me, Gloria, you can do it. She doesn't like to take a no. That's why, she doesn't just like to take a no. She won't take a no for anything, right? So that's just, even when she called me, oh, Gloria, you're coming up. I said, what do I have to say? She said, well, you have a story. I know you have a story. And she tells me, you can do it. And I am here telling you that if I was able to do it from a girl who was shy, a girl who was into herself, a girl who was intimidated, a girl who stutters when she talks, she can't stand in front of you and have a conversation, then you can do it. Go and take over the world. For young girls, that is what I'm leaving with you today. Go take over the world. You see it, own it, solve it, do it. Just execute it. Take over the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Like when you started sharing the story, I'm like, I can't wait to hear who this girl is. Your story, thank you for just being open and vulnerable to share that with us. It's a very inspiring story of resilience, of sponsorship, of mentorship. We've gotten a chance to get a feel of Funmi's personality as well. And we know she doesn't take no for an answer. So it must be great to have her as a mentor as well. So right now, I will segue into the next segment and want to make sure we respect everyone's time. So we're running about 3 minutes behind. So if you would please just give us about 8 more minutes to wrap up the few things that we have left. So for the next segment, we're going to go into the raffle draw winner. So I mentioned just before Gloria came up that we have some prizes for those that are on the call. And I will be welcoming Morenike Adeola Sadiq back on with me to announce our raffle draw winners. Morenike. So
hi everyone. I'm just going to share my screen. So like Yvonne said earlier, we're going to have a very transparent process in selecting who the winners are for the raffle. So I guess Yvonne, do you want to say what the first prize is before I spin?
Yes, so for the first prize, drum roll, we're going to be giving the first prize winner an Infinix phone and an IHS and ATG co-branded power bank, because we all need power banks, they're an essential. So,
all right, so for an Infinix phone and a branded power bank, spinning the wheel.
Ooh, who's the lucky winner? Let's see. Show people that can see their names are just like, let it land on me, let it land on me. So almost landed on Cima. We probably won't pick Cima if it was Cima. So
Jetta Ezeagba. Jetta Ezeagba, you're the winner of the Infinix phone and power bank. Are you here? Jetta, can you type in the chat if you're here?
Fortunately, I don't think we have Jetta on the call. So we will probably have to spin the wheel again. Yes, because we want to ensure that whoever gets the prize is still on the call. It's like, so close to Lamide. Okay.
Moses Fire. Is Moses Fire on the call?
No, we don't have Moses Fire on. So. Yeah, John. I was going to say John is part of the team, so technically he can't win it. So John is part of the IHS team. So for me, tell John that can be John.
Rennie Orioke. Is Rennie here?
So we don't have Rennie on as well.
Oh no.
So, okay.
Is Chidima Njoku here?
Oh, I saw her in the chat earlier, actually. Yeah. Chidima Njoku, are you still on? Let's do a quick search. Yeah, she's here. I see her because I remember seeing the name.
Fantastic. So it looks like we have a winner. We can see that she's here. Yes. Chidima, you're the winner of the Infinix phone and power bank. We'll email you to get your details. We can see you in the chat. We'll email you to get your details and get your prize over to you.
Awesome. Congratulations. Funmi's like, I hope Chidima is not an IHS staff.
Let's go to the next one.
Oh, so Chidima is.
Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. So what's the next one, Yvonne? Are you going to tell us?
Yes, so for the second prize, we have an Arami Essential gift box and a power bank, because like we said, everyone gets a power bank. But the Arami gift box, we especially selected this because it's been a stressful year for a lot of people and, you know, first few months as well. And we just wanted to give you something to help you take care of yourself and enjoy some relaxation at home. So that's our second prize. I'm going to get over to you. We have Ojo Babatunde. So I don't see Ojo Babatunde on the call. He's not on. Oh. Abimbola Bodude. If I pronounce that right. I'm just gonna type to do a search. Okay, Abimbola Bodude, you're on the call. Are you still on? Yeah, so Abimbola Bodude is on. Yes. So I think we have our second prize winner.
Congratulations, Abimbola. We'll be emailing you as well and sending you your gift.
Congrats. And then for our final prize, we have a spa voucher to enable you go do some essential shopping, to visit a spa shopping center, and pick up like some things and treats for yourself and for your loved ones, and a power bank. So we'll spin the wheel now.
So let's 30,000 Naira spa voucher. Here we go.
Yes. While we're spinning the wheel, if you haven't filled out the form yet for the data refund, please take out some time to do so. You know, especially our amazing girls that are joining from their phones, secondary school girls, please fill out the form. So I see Dorcas. I saw this name earlier, but I just wanted to search it. So Dorcas Bologe. I don't see Dorcas Bologe on the call. And so for our final prize, we have Rukewe Ken Erimo. Yes. Let me do a quick search if Rukewe is on. So Rukewe is not on the call. If you are by a different name, please type in the chat box, but I don't believe so. So we have Adrian Higley. Adrian Higley. Is Adrian Higley on the call? Search. No, Adrian Higley on the call.
So many drop-offs.
Yeah.
I guess they're missing out on their prizes.
Yes. Okay, I was so close. Damilola Adejimi. Okay, so Damilola Adejimi on the call. Yes, we have Damilola Adejimi on the call for our 30,000 Naira spa gift voucher and a power bank. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Damilola.
Thank you so much, Morenike, for spinning the wheel so graciously, and congratulations again to all our raffle draw winners. We're excited. We hope you take out some time to enjoy your gifts. We will reach out to you all individually to get your contact details and your delivery address. For our final segment of today, we don't want to leave because it's been an amazing session, from the kickoff right to the keynote address, to the panel discussion, you know, to the experiential learning segments. We had so many amazing speakers. Like, I'm living inspired. I was like taking notes. I was trying to do other things because I'm going back to like my day-to-day life with like so much encouragement and inspiration. So thank you all, amazing women. I'd like to welcome up Funmi Awelewa and Adeola Shasanya to give us the vote of thanks, closing remarks, and just ways to stay plugged in on all of the amazing content and initiatives that we'll be kicking off. Funmi, you can kick us off, and then we'll go on to Adeola.
Can you hear me? Good afternoon.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you, Yvonne. Young girls and ladies, it's been one amazing day, and honestly, I have personally learned a lot. On behalf of IHS, we would like to extend our vote of thanks to everyone who has made out time to join us in the 2021 International Day of Women and Girls in Science. And I am very confident that we have learned a lot today. It was indeed insightful to recognize the critical role women and girls play in science and technology. We would like to express our profound gratitude to our speakers, Dr. Ngozi, Onyia, Dr. Yetunde, Jessica, Dr. Mobola, Dr. Kemi. Thank you for joining hands to advance and promote the agenda of having young women in STEM, and for providing clarity on the theme for this year, which is women scientists at the forefront of the fight against COVID-19. Indeed, we have learned a lot. Making lemonade out of lemons. I mean, the stories are quite personal, overwhelmingly inspiring. A big thank you to our organizers and co-sponsors, Afro-Tech Girls and IHS Towers. Thank you for a good job, well done. The schools Students and young entrepreneurs, we recognize Ilupeju Junior Grammar School, Ilupeju Senior Grammar School, the Seed of Knowledge School at Agbo Palace, Okota, Government Senior College, Ikoyi Girls. Apologies if I missed any of the schools. Quite excited about our partnership and what we can achieve in adding value and making strong impact. I'd like to take a quote from Sheryl Sandberg, an American business technology executive. And need I say that she is a billionaire and philanthropist. She currently serves as the Chief Operating Officer of Facebook and also the founder of Lenin. And it says that we cannot change what we are not aware of. And once we are aware, we cannot help but change. So in conclusion, we are aware that there are long-standing biases and gender stereotypes which are steering girls and women away from science and technology. And to resolve these biases, we will continue to recognize women's contribution in science. We will smash the stereotypes and defeat discrimination against women and girls in science, even as we call on all stakeholders to join in supporting this cause. Once again, thank you for being part of the 2021 STEM conference. See you again next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Funmi. Thank you for that wonderful address and for just shouting out all of the different schools and partners. We're very excited about what comes next. Adeola, over to you, please.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thank you so much, Funmi. I think Funmi has pretty much said everything I wanted to say. Honestly, today has been so amazing. I want to say a huge thank you to the over 200 people who, viewed this or watched this, in some way, to the 100+ kids who watched from the comfort of their schools, to everyone who tuned in, wherever you are all over the world. We just want to say a huge thank you for supporting the vision of Afro-Tech Girls, and to also say a huge thank you to IHS, because to be honest, without you, today wouldn't have been possible. It wasn't initially in our calendar, but thanks to Funmi, Cima, everybody, John, putting fire on all, our behinds, if I would say, to get this done. And indeed, I'm very, very happy and to say, even on behalf of Afro-Tech Girls, a huge thank you for inspiring us, for supporting us, for encouraging us. Today has been so amazing, and goes without saying, our wonderful women in STEM, the women at the forefront of COVID-19, our doctors, our data scientists. I'm so like, there's still a lot to unpack from that session. I'm sure everybody agrees with me, like they never wanted it to end. So I'd say watch out for part 2. Watch out for part 2. We'll definitely be back, our spotlight series. This is just me throwing out ideas there. Dr. Ngozi, Onyia, we want to say a huge thank you for the great work that you do at Pelion Memorial. For Dr. Mobola, Oyefule, wow, you inspire us, a 30-year-old minimally invasive surgeon. God, where was I when they were sharing brains, please? I'm only joking. Dr. Kemi, wow, so soft-spoken. We really enjoyed your session, telling us about what it is, especially in Nigeria, being a doctor. And we know, right now, I know a lot of doctors are staying in Nigeria, but the fact that you are here and, we don't know your future plans, but we do appreciate all the work that you do, especially for our homegrown, audience, our homegrown family, everybody that is here. Jessica, we want to say thank you. You're so inspiring. Thank you for your story. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Wow, Yetunde, well done. My personal favorite, let me just say, is Yetunde, because me, I've always wanted to do a PhD and I've been so shy. But you know what? I'm going to go back to the drawing board and pencil that in. So thank you so much for sharing your journey with us and inspiring us to keep going. To our partner schools, so I know we mentioned the schools that were involved, but I want to especially call out Mr. Aramide Twins. The reason why I speak of Mr. Aramide Twins, because he was one of the teachers in the first schools that we ever visited from Afro-Tech Girls back in 2014, when Morenike, Yvonne, and I were all still NYSC students. He was very accommodating, always welcome. He gave us the opportunity to run our first ever event. And we just want to thank him for being ever so supportive, even today, joining in virtually and ensuring that the students also are able to join virtually as they couldn't gather in their school. And also for our partner organization, Tech for Streets, we want to say a huge thank you to Mr. Olumide Ajayi. Without him, his team, ensuring that, their power, their setup, they're able to tune in on Zoom from their schools in Ilupeju. We just want to say a huge thank you to him and his team. Also want to call out, all our friends, our family, the ATG community. We saw a lot of you in the chat box, present. I don't want to start calling our names because it wouldn't end. And I want to especially thank the people who are just, learning about Afro-Tech Girls. If this was ever your first time learning about Afro-Tech Girls, we say thank you. And we say a huge, huge, huge welcome. And thanks to IHS, there's a lot more that we can do in partnership with IHS. And I would say, please stay tuned. Follow our social media platforms. We are at Afro-Tech Girls on all social media platforms. You get the latest news about our partnership with IHS, all the amazing programs are coming up this year, next year. We all want you to be empowered, to feel, supported. And also please follow us on our website. We have a community and that community brings so many opportunities, latest updates on like job opportunities, discounts on programs, it's limited. It is actually very limitless, and we just can't wait to do more and be more and, be all that we can be with you guys, working with us. So I'm going to end now and respect everybody's time because we are way, 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 way past time. I don't know if I've already said this before, but I thank Yvonne and Marinike for holding it down today. And for Adora as well, for John, for Funmi, everybody else, Gloria for speaking. Thank you so much. For Cima as well for speaking and taking our time today. And all IHS women, the women in IHS, I know a lot of you registered. I don't know if the men registered, but if you're a guy and you're in IHS, thank you for registering and supporting this mission of women in STEM. And I just want to celebrate everybody on this call. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And, I pray, all you guys stay safe. We would survive COVID, and one day soon we'll all be able to meet in person and have, a larger than life in-person conference. So thank you all so much. That's it for me. And yes, I guess we can wrap up now. Thank you so much. Round of applause to all our sponsors, our speakers, the audience, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And happy International Women and Girls in Science Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Adeola. Thank you, every single person, for being here today. They both said it all. There's nothing more to add. Can't add anything to that. We really, truly appreciate each and every one of you, our board members, every single person that's on this call today. With that, we will be wrapping up this event. We are thankful for your time and we'll be giving you the rest of your afternoon. Please stay connected. Feel free to reach out to us via our contact details on our websites as well. Take care, everyone, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.